What's wrong, ma'am?
I had my baby and I'm trying to get to Idabel Hospital.
Idabel?
Yeah, my husband's up there.
On the morning of October 9th, 2020, a Texas state trooper spotted a woman driving erratically close to the Texas-Oklahoma border.
Why aren't you going to St. Michael's or somewhere?
We're going to Idabel. It's where my doctor is. I need to get up there.
I need to call LifeNet or something like that. I can't let you drive. Let me get LifeNet on the way.
When the trooper pulled the vehicle over, the driver was frantic. She was screaming for help, claiming she had just given birth on the side of the road. Sitting in her lap was a newborn baby girl who wasn't breathing. The baby's umbilical cord was still attached, and blood covered the woman's clothing. An ambulance was called immediately, and both the woman and the infant were rushed to hospital.
What's taking so long? Oh, God.
But once doctors began examining the woman, something didn't make sense. Despite her claims, there were no signs that she had recently given birth.
So, it surely doesn't look like a baby came out of there. It doesn't look like she had a baby.
It doesn't?
No.
Okay.
Does not look like she had a baby.
As medical staff tried to understand what was happening, investigators began piecing together a far darker picture. Because around 70 miles away, in New Boston, Texas, 21-year-old Reagan Simmons-Hancock had been found dead inside her home. Reagan was 35 weeks pregnant when she was brutally attacked, and her unborn daughter Braxlynn had been cut from her body. The woman back at the hospital, claiming the baby was hers and that she had just given birth, was Taylor Parker.
Everybody's happy, they're having showers, and then somebody comes along and cuts her damn baby out of her gut. That's what we got right now.
This is the case of Taylor Parker, and how her actions stole 2 innocent lives and shattered a community forever.
We know it. We know you did it. There's no doubt whatsoever. Taylor's a cold-blooded murderer who stole a woman's baby from her.
Born Taylor Renee Morton and raised in Titus County in northeast Texas, she grew up in the small town of Mount Pleasant, where she played basketball and was involved in competitive cheerleading. Her parents, Shona Pryor and Mark Morton, divorced in 2005. Taylor was around 12 or 13 at the time. Their father, Mark, struggled with the separation and was not always a stabilizing presence. The environment around him was at times troubled, and dishonesty was not uncommon. He used both Taylor and her brother Zachary as pawns in the divorce and did not always put his children first. By the time she was 17, Taylor was already a mother. She had given birth to her first child, a daughter, with her then boyfriend Donald Whiteside. The relationship did not last. Donald was unfaithful, and when Taylor found out, she packed up and left. Her daughter grew up knowing only Tommy Wakasee as her father, Taylor's next partner and eventual husband. She and Tommy married, and at 21, Taylor welcomed her second child, a son. In 2014, Taylor underwent weight loss surgery. Those who knew her well describe it as a turning point. Before it, when she was with Tommy, family came first. She was present, attentive, and by most accounts, a devoted wife and mother. Afterwards, something shifted. Her focus moved away from her family and towards herself. She began going out more, stepping out on her husband, and the lies, which had always been there in small ways, began to grow. After the surgery, Taylor was reportedly always flirting, showing off her body, and going to work dressed like she was headed to the club. She had numerous extramarital affairs, including an instance in which Tommy caught her having sex in a car with another man. Her son's birth had not been without complications. Taylor had developed preeclampsia during the pregnancy and afterwards chose to undergo a tubal ligation to prevent future pregnancies. That procedure ultimately failed. Roughly a year later, in 2015, she suffered an ectopic pregnancy. During emergency surgery to resolve it, doctors discovered extensive scarring from endometriosis. With Taylor unconscious, a decision had to be made. It's unclear whether it was her mother Shona or her husband Tommy who authorized doctors to go ahead with a full hysterectomy, but ultimately Taylor's uterus and one ovary were removed. When she woke up and learned the extent of what had been done, she was furious. She demanded to know why no one had waited, why she had not been given the chance to decide for herself. For years afterwards, she directed that anger at her mother. Her marriage to Tommy ended in divorce in 2017. Taylor gave up primary custody of their son. She was ordered to pay child support, though Tommy never actively pursued her for it. She never paid a single payment. By early 2021, she owed over $8,000 in back child support and penalties. The year after their divorce, in 2018, she married Hunter Parker, taking his surname as her own. Her second marriage had followed a similar pattern. Taylor didn't tell Hunter she was infertile until after they were already married. To keep him, she claimed a series of medical problems and faked seizures. She told friends she had been diagnosed with uterine cancer. That was why she couldn't have children. She told people she had miscarried twins, that she had lost a daughter immediately after giving birth, that she and Hunter had hired a surrogate, but that Hunter had cheated with the woman. None of it was true, but that relationship was equally short-lived, ending in 2019. Those who knew Taylor from these years describe a recognizable pattern, one her brother Zachary saw clearly, having watched the same thing play out in their father. When she was chasing a new relationship, everything and everyone else went to the back burner. Her children, her responsibilities, her promises, all of it became secondary to whatever she wanted in that moment. Alongside the chaos of those years, Taylor had built a small side business as a freelance photographer, shooting portraits, engagements, and weddings for people across the East Texas community. She moved through people's most intimate moments, invited in, trusted, handed the job of capturing the days they would remember forever. Throughout all of it, one desire stayed constant. Taylor wanted more children. Unable to become pregnant herself, she reached out to multiple friends about the possibility of acting as surrogates, reportedly offering six-figure compensation. Nothing came of it. Then on the evening of Thursday, the 25th of July 2019, just 3 weeks after her divorce from Hunter Parker was finalized, she attended the annual Naples Rodeo and Watermelon Festival in Naples, Texas, and met Wade Griffin. Taylor and Wade quickly hit it off. What began as conversations on social media soon developed into regular dates, family introductions, and a relationship that appeared to be moving forward quickly. Wade was a maintenance supervisor at Atlas Roofing Corp. In Dangerfield, supplementing his income through welding jobs, hog trapping, and managing livestock. He and a business partner ran a small licensed hog buying operation called Circle G Farms in Sims, purchasing wild hogs and selling them to a meat processing plant. He had never been married, had no children, and carried a reputation as a reliable and hard-working presence in the community. Those who knew him described a man who was decent and family-oriented. Taylor, at the time, was working in the Human Resources Department at Ameripac Foods in Hughes Springs. She also had her small photography business on the side. On paper, they were two working people in small-town East Texas, building modest lives. But Taylor, it seemed, made it her mission to become indispensable to him almost immediately. She cooked his favorite meals, took over aspects of managing his finances, and made herself available in ways that felt devoted and generous. Wade appeared drawn to her attentiveness, and before long, she had woven herself into the fabric of his daily routine. To the people around them, however, the dynamic was not quite equal. Wade's mother, Connie Griffin, and others close to him noticed early on that Taylor appeared far more invested in the relationship than he was. She seemed to want something close and certain. Wade was affectionate but measured, and it was not always clear he felt the same pull. Connie also noted what she considered an early red flag, that Taylor did not have custody of her son. Something about the picture Taylor presented did not quite add up, even from the beginning. Within weeks of them meeting, Taylor's stories about herself began to take shape. She told Wade and his family that her grandfather owned oil wells and that she stood to inherit millions. The wells were real, her grandfather did have them, but they generated only a few $100s a month, not millions. But Wade had no reason to question it. She offered to buy him things, promised to build his father a new barn, to replace one that had burned down, and painted a picture of a wealthy family's future just waiting to be unlocked. Then, just weeks into their relationship, Taylor lost her job and she needed somewhere to live. Taylor told Wade that her mother, Shona Pryor, had hired a hitman to kill her. Shona wanted access to a bank account in Taylor's name containing $6 million and was willing to have her own daughter murdered to get it. Taylor told him she feared for her life, and so, within a month of meeting him, Taylor moved into Wade's small cabin in Sims, bringing her young daughter with her. To make the threat feel real and ongoing, Taylor used a VoIP messaging application to send herself messages while posing as a fictional law enforcement contact she called Coburn, who fed her and Wade regular updates on Shona's alleged criminal activity. But Coburn was just one of many. Over the months that followed, Taylor built out an entire cast of fictional people, fake versions of her own family members, fabricated bank and oil company executives, an attorney named Blake Lawington, and a hit squad of Mexican mafia members. Each character had a name, each had an age, each had a backstory. Taylor had background information ready for every single one of them. Once inside the home, Wade's mother Connie visited the cabin and she discovered that Taylor's young daughter had been sleeping on the couch. There was no proper bed for the child. Connie went out and got one herself, and they set it up together in the loft of the small cabin. Before long, she found herself looking after the girl regularly, stepping in to fill a gap that Taylor seemed barely to notice. Eventually, she had to tell Taylor plainly, as fond as she was of the girl, she was not her grandmother, and she needed a break. When Connie asked about Taylor's son, Taylor told her the circumstances had been entirely beyond her control. A county judge, she said, had come into her hospital room while she was recovering from a stroke and had her sign away her parental rights while she was still incapacitated. It was not true. Taylor had simply not contested custody when Tommy filed for divorce. Around the same time, in August 2019, Taylor used the same VoIP app to contact Wade, posing as her father Mark Morton, telling him he had been in a road accident and his bush hog had been totaled. Another character appeared, Jace, a supposed family friend helping with the aftermath. During the fictional towing operation, Taylor told Wade a winch cable had snapped and struck her stomach, hurting the babies. It was the first mention of a pregnancy. Shortly afterwards, Taylor made it more explicit, telling Wade she was pregnant. He was cautious, even wondered privately whether it was some kind of trap. Then, not long after, she told him she had lost the baby. As autumn turned to winter and the relationship deepened, Taylor continued expanding the mythology around herself. She was the granddaughter of an oil magnate. Her mother was dangerous and controlling. Her inheritance was coming. It was just a matter of getting it out of Shona's hands. She also cultivated Wade's boss at Atlas Roofing, Roger Pate, and his wife Angela, drawing them into her world over dinner and making herself a fixture in their lives too. Angela found Taylor's friendliness unsettling from the very first evening. In December 2019, Taylor asked her friend Stephanie Ott to drive her to a bank in Naples, telling her she was meeting her grandmother there to withdraw $200,000 for a cattle purchase. Stephanie drove her and watched her go inside. However, she never saw any grandmother. Taylor came out shortly afterwards in a panic, saying the bank had shredded her money because it was old money and had thrown her out for making a scene. She asked Stephanie to tell Wade what had happened. Stephanie refused. Taylor picked up the phone and called him herself. When she hung up, she turned to Stephanie and said, "That went a lot easier than I thought." On the drive home, she added that her grandmother was upset because her grandfather had cancer. He did not have cancer. By the end of that year, Taylor Parker called real estate agent Rusty Lowe at Century 21 Harvey Properties in Paris, Texas, inquiring about a 1,500-acre tract of land in Bowie County, valued at approximately $4.7 million. When Rusty Lowe asked how she intended to pay, she told him she was the heir to a syrup company. She had told her employer a different version, that she was the heiress to the Morton Salt fortune. She and Wade met with a realtor about a property known as Pecan Point and submitted an offer worth millions of dollars. Taylor provided checks that were supposedly backed by her family's wealth. When Wade attempted to cash one, the bank told him a transaction of that size couldn't be processed in the manner he was attempting. Then, in January 2020, she told Wade she was pregnant again. This time she said it was a daughter. Over the months that followed, Taylor continued to build up the pregnancy lie. She purchased a fake pregnancy belly online, commissioned customized fake ultrasound images, and began documenting what appeared to be her journey online. She and Wade prepared a nursery inside his cabin, discussed baby names. Wade had always liked the name Clancy, so they decided on Clancy Gale. Shortly after announcing the pregnancy in January 2020, Taylor once again turned to the VoIP application. This time, she began messaging Wade and members of his family while posing as her mother, Shona Pryor. Taylor claimed that the millions her grandmother had left through valuable oil and gas royalties was in an account that her mother controlled, and she refused to release it. Various supposed relatives began contacting Wade directly, encouraging him to stay committed to Taylor and reassuring him that everything would eventually be resolved. To Wade, the messages seemed genuine. What he didn't know was that many of the people contacting him didn't exist at all. Even before the formal pregnancy announcement, Taylor had been seeding the idea of lost pregnancies into the relationship. She had confided in her friend Stephanie Ott that early in her relationship with Wade, she had traveled to Shreveport to have an abortion. She had been carrying his twins, she said, but Wade wasn't ready to be a father and she had made the decision alone. She begged Stephanie not to tell anyone. There was no trip to Shreveport. There were no twins. A week before announcing her pregnancy, frightened that Wade was pulling away, his attention drifting, his enthusiasm cooling, Taylor had called Tommy, the father of her son, and told him Wade was going to leave her. She asked if her daughter could come and live with him, but Tommy said no. A week later she told Wade she was pregnant. As the money stories grew more elaborate, so did the financial damage. Taylor told Wade she was responsible for family-owned property in Bryan's Mill, Texas, and asked him to estimate the cost of clearing and fencing the land, assuring him she had access to more than $50,000 in family funds to cover it. Wade hired his longtime friend Juan to begin the work. When Taylor claimed her mother had stepped in and shut everything down, the money never arrived, and Wade was left responsible for costs he had never expected to pay himself. In February 2020, Taylor promised to use her incoming money to help Wade purchase a new tractor. When the payment failed and the check proved worthless, it was repossessed. Taylor had also been regularly burning Wade's mail in a burn barrel behind the cabin. Taylor had been destroying mail she didn't want Wade to see for months. Among it were demands for child support payments she had never made. On March 14th, a gender reveal party was hosted by Taylor's friends Cody and Stephanie Ott. The invitations carried a ranch theme, pink and blue calves, and the question heifer or bull printed across them. At Taylor's request, Wade brought a heifer with a pink bow to make the announcement. Taylor posted the photos to Facebook, but cracks were beginning to show. By the time the party arrived, Stephanie already had doubts. The gender document Taylor had given her weeks earlier had been printed on plain paper, no letterhead, just Northeast Texas Women's Clinic typed at the top. It included an amended report dated November 2016. When Stephanie asked about it, Taylor told her she had called the clinic and they had informed her there had been 324 misprints on gender reports that year. Stephanie called the lab herself. They told her they didn't even produce that kind of document. She had also grown suspicious about the ultrasound image Taylor sent her. It looked old and discolored. Taylor explained she had kept it in her wallet and a magnet had ruined it, but the clinic had reprinted it. Stephanie had never heard of a clinic reprinting an ultrasound. Around the same time, Taylor told Stephanie she was having contractions at only 7 or 8 weeks pregnant. She described a specific injection her doctor was going to give her to stop them. Stephanie Googled the medication. It was real, but she also knew that contractions at 7 or 8 weeks were not medically possible. She called the clinic and told the nurse that a patient named Taylor Parker was claiming this. There was a pause. The nurse asked if Stephanie would speak with clinic manager Melissa Mason. Mason couldn't share any patient information, but she told Stephanie to go with her gut. Eventually, Stephanie confronted Taylor directly. She told her she didn't believe she was pregnant. Taylor crossed her arms and fixed her with a stare, one eyebrow raised, completely silent, her expression completely still. She held it for what felt like a long time before grabbing her head with both hands and shaking it slowly. "I was just thinking," she said finally. Stephanie's heart was racing. She walked to the kitchen and took a knife from the drawer. Later, as she was leaving to take her daughter to school, Taylor asked several times if she could stay behind at the house, alone with Stephanie's sleeping 4-year-old son. Stephanie did not let her stay. Mackenzie Bright had known Taylor for years and had seen the same pattern from a different angle. Taylor was meticulous about her appearance, obsessed with it. Mackenzie could count on one hand the number of times she had seen her without makeup, even lying around the house watching films. She grew dismissive or quickly agitated if anyone questioned her, and she was intensely focused on other women's pregnancies. When Mackenzie became pregnant, Taylor became her constant companion, going with her to fertility appointments, positioning herself as her primary support person. When the friendship ended, Mackenzie later learned that Taylor had told someone she hoped the baby had died. Wade's mother Connie was more direct. She repeatedly told her son she did not believe Taylor was pregnant. At one point, Wade asked her whether a previous tummy tuck might explain why Taylor didn't seem to be growing the way a pregnant woman should. Connie was unconvinced. Connie's concerns had reached the point where she considered hiring a private investigator, someone who could gather concrete evidence she could put in front of Wade. She ultimately decided against it, worried it would cost her the relationship with her son entirely. Meanwhile, Taylor continued building the lie. She posted dozens of baby belly selfies across Facebook and Instagram, shared updates about doctor's appointments that had never taken place, and in July 2020 asked her followers to pray for her and baby Clancy because she had medical appointments and scans that day. In August, she staged and posted a full maternity photo shoot. To anyone following her online, the pregnancy was entirely real. In September 2020, Wade received a series of anonymous messages from a number he didn't recognize. He didn't know it at the time, but the messages were from Tommy, Taylor's former husband and the father of her son. Tommy had learned Taylor was claiming to be pregnant. He used an anonymous number because he didn't want Taylor to know it was him. He knew what that would cost him. The first message arrived on September 11th. It read, "It's funny how Taylor is pregnant, but every hospital within a 60-mile radius is watching for her because they're scared she's going to come in and steal a baby. Because there's no possible way she's pregnant, and they all know that because they got all the hospital records." 5 days later, on September 16th, another message arrived. It said, "I'm reaching out to you because I feel like it's the ethical thing to do. In 2015, Taylor had a hysterectomy. She isn't pregnant. She can't get pregnant. She's a con artist and is lying to keep you around. I'm sure you haven't been to one doctor's appointment with her, for whatever reason." He told Wade that the sonogram images Taylor had been sharing on social media were faked. One of them was a scan from her pregnancy with her daughter, with her name and the clinic's name cut off from the edge. He wrote, "I don't do drama, not at all. But because I know for a fact she isn't pregnant and is running out of time, I had to reach out. Please be careful. She has lied about so much for so long, she has herself in so deep she can't get out. I'm concerned how far she might go with this. All hospitals are on high alert because she may go to the extent of stealing a child." Wade brought the messages straight to Taylor. Together, they concluded it was simply more harassment from Shona Pryor, and Wade dismissed every word of it. Taylor's behavior had taken on a new and disturbing dimension. She drove to a clinic in Paris, Texas, where she had booked herself a sonogram appointment. When she arrived, she began crying and told staff she needed to reschedule. Her husband had died in the military, she said, and her mother had cancelled on her. The appointment never happened. Staff later saw her sitting on a bench in the car park outside. She was using her phone to look up the license plates of the pregnant women walking into the clinic. Taylor's original due date was September 22nd. It arrived. Then it passed, and there was no baby. Taylor assured Wade that everything was still on track. She told him she would be induced at Titus Regional Medical Center in Mount Pleasant, Texas, on October 5th, 2020. But when that day arrived, a fire broke out beneath Wade's home. He extinguished it himself with a garden hose, and later that same day, the hospital received a bomb threat and was evacuated. Taylor blamed both on her mother. According to Taylor, her mother had somehow discovered where she was planning to deliver the baby and was actively trying to sabotage the birth. She told Wade she would deliver instead at McCurtain Memorial Hospital in Idabel, Oklahoma, on October 9th. On the evening of October 8th, the couple went to dinner at Osaka's, then stopped at O'Reilly's to pick up a plug so Wade could check the trailer lights. Back at home, Wade worked on the truck while Taylor told him she was going to visit her friend. That friend was Reagan Hancock. Reagan Michelle Simmons-Hancock was born on November 14, 1998. At just 21 years old, she was already a wife, a mother, and eagerly awaiting the arrival of her second daughter. She grew up surrounded by a close-knit family and remained deeply connected to them throughout her life. Those who knew her consistently described someone who was warm, caring, and impossible not to love. Her smile is something family members mention again and again when speaking about her. Her mother, Jessica Brooks, spoke about how Reagan's smile could brighten even the worst day. If someone around her was struggling, Reagan had a way of making things feel a little lighter.
She became a mother early, but after she had Kinley, she went on to get her high school diploma, and she was aspiring to eventually get in. She was going to start taking classes again in the spring, and she wanted to go into nursing eventually. She loved unity. She did not like any discord in any relationship. She didn't like confrontations. She wanted unity.
She was especially close to her sister Emily, and the two remained an important part of each other's lives as they grew older. Family was at the center of everything Reagan did. In her late teens, Reagan met Homer Hancock. The pair quickly fell in love and began building a life together. Before long, they welcomed their first daughter, Kinley Grace. Friends and family say Reagan embraced motherhood completely. She adored being a mum and loved spending time with her little girl. Photos shared by family show the pair constantly together, whether they were celebrating milestones, spending time outdoors, or simply enjoying everyday life. By 2020, Reagan and Homer were preparing for another exciting chapter. Reagan was pregnant with their second daughter. The baby had already been given a name, Braxlynn Sage Hancock. Family members were counting down the weeks until her arrival. When Reagan found out she was expecting again, she let Kinley be the one to share the news. Those who knew her say she talked often about the future and the life she was building with Homer and her girls. By the autumn of 2020, Reagan was approximately 8 months pregnant and eagerly awaiting Braxlynn's arrival. She was decorating, planning, preparing, and doing all the things expectant mothers do when they know they are only weeks away from meeting their child. During her pregnancy, she maintained contact with someone she knew briefly through photography work. That person was Taylor Parker. Their relationship began through Taylor's photography business. Taylor photographed Reagan and Homer Hancock during one of the happiest periods of their lives, capturing engagement photographs before later photographing their wedding as well. Through those interactions, the two women became acquainted and remained connected through social media, occasionally keeping in touch. The similarities between them were easy to see. Both were mothers. Both lived in East Texas. Both appeared to be expecting daughters. Both posted regularly about family life and motherhood. She had no reason to doubt Taylor's claims. As far as she knew, Taylor was another expectant mother navigating the final months of pregnancy. As Reagan's pregnancy progressed, Taylor seemed to take a particular interest in it. Like many expectant mothers, Reagan shared parts of her journey online. Family and friends celebrated milestones alongside her, commented on photographs, and eagerly awaited the arrival of her baby girl, Braxlynn. Through social media and their occasional communication, Taylor was able to follow that journey in real time. She knew how far along Reagan was, she knew when major appointments took place, and she knew that the pregnancy was entering its final weeks. Meanwhile, Taylor's own situation was becoming increasingly precarious. For months, she had convinced Wade Griffin, his family, and many others that she was carrying their daughter. The problem was that time was running out. The due date she had spent months discussing was rapidly approaching, and despite the countless stories she had told, there was no baby waiting at the end of it all. But Taylor had an evil plan. She continued presenting herself as an excited, expectant mother, and at the same time maintained what appeared to be a friendly relationship with Reagan. Earlier that week, Taylor had arranged what she claimed was a hog sale at a ranch in Wynwood, Oklahoma, a 4-hour drive north. She had cold-called the ranch owner, Scott Robertson, on September 22nd, identifying herself as Taylor Griffin and offering to sell him hogs. Scott had doubts from the start. She didn't know about the license required to transport livestock across state lines. She wanted the money paid up front. Eventually, he told her plainly that he didn't think she was telling the truth and called off the deal. Taylor texted him again 5 days later, claiming she hadn't seen his last message until then, offering explanations for her earlier confusion about the licensing. Scott wasn't interested. To make sure Wade still made the trip, Taylor fabricated text messages that appeared to come from Robertson, confirming that he had agreed to buy the hogs for just over $6,100. The text read, "Wade, this is Scott. I will see you both in the morning around 6:30 to 7. Taylor said, check made out to Wade Griffin, check total $6,100. I have 7 groups of hunters this weekend, need those hogs tomorrow for sure. Turned 2 guys away today with hogs. Drive safe. I'll send address for GPS. Thanks, man." Scott had not written a single word of it. The number it came from wasn't even his. He had a Dallas area code, but Wade had no way of knowing that. The deal was arranged, the timing was perfect, and after dropping the hogs in Wynwood, he would head south to Idabel to meet Taylor at the hospital. In the days leading up to October 9th, Taylor had been keeping herself close to Reagan. At some point that week, she had dropped off a Starbucks card and a baby gift. Reagan messaged her on Facebook on October 7th to thank her, calling it a sweet gift. On the morning of October 8th, Taylor drove to Austin Street. She didn't go in. Cell phone location data placed her in the area of Reagan's house, where she sat outside for a significant period of time before driving away again. Later that evening, Homer got home from work around 7:15 p.m. He and Reagan sat down to eat dinner as a family. Taylor was coming over to visit Reagan. When Taylor arrived, she and Reagan spent around 45 minutes together in the couple's break room. Homer could hear them talking. At one point, the conversation turned to the nursery, Taylor and Reagan discussing how Taylor might help decorate it for Braxlynn's arrival. Homer then went to bed. What Reagan didn't know was that at 7:26 that evening, while the two of them were together in that house, Taylor purchased a new talk-a-tone phone number on her device. 1 minute later, she sent a test text from it to herself, and it worked. Taylor left just before 10 p.m. and drove home. She and Wade continued preparing for the next day. Eventually, they went to bed. Whether she slept that night is unclear. Her phone was still making data connections at 12:15 a.m. Between 3:11 and 3:30 a.m., 5 calls went out from her burner phone to McCurtain Memorial Hospital in Idabel, some brief, others lasting over 6 minutes. She had already searched for the hospital 3 times online. At 3:30 a.m., Wade got up. Taylor was already awake. She told him she had been cramping all night, so she couldn't make the 4-hour drive to Wynwood. He offered to cancel the trip and stay with her. She told him not to. They couldn't afford to lose the sale. He should go without her, and she would meet him at the hospital in Idabel later that day. He agreed and left. Shortly afterwards, cell phone geolocation data showed him leaving Sims, heading north toward Wynwood. From around 4:28 a.m., Taylor watched YouTube of videos about cesarean sections and births at 35 weeks. Not general pregnancy content, material focused on the exact gestation Reagan was at. She left home at 5:26 a.m. Wade called her burner phone at 6:31 a.m. That call lasted more than 6 minutes. During it, Taylor pulled into an Easy Mart where surveillance cameras captured her at the register, paying $10 for fuel in Wade's Toyota Corolla. She had taken it that morning because it got better gas mileage than her own car. The cameras showed her clearly, a black jacket with leopard print lining the hoodie, a white t-shirt underneath, and a pair of No Boundaries sandals on her feet. She paid and walked out. Receipts and location data show she then stopped at the McDonald's next door. The Easy Mart was 1.8 miles from Reagan's house on Austin Street, a 4-minute drive. Wade arrived at the ranch at 7:35 a.m. with a gooseneck trailer loaded with hogs. Scott Robertson was not expecting him. He was not only surprised, but irritated. Wade had pulled the trailer right up to the front of the lodge, where Scott's hunting clients were staying. He told his ranch hands to move him. Wade showed him the texts on his phone, the ones that appeared to come from Scott confirming the deal. Scott looked at them and said, "That's not even my phone number. It's acting as if it's me, and it's not me." He pulled up the real text conversation on his own phone, the one where he had told Taylor 2 weeks earlier that the deal was off, and showed it to Wade. Wade was stuck, 4 hours from home, with a trailer full of hogs nobody had ordered, in the growing heat of an October morning. Scott wasn't going to touch them without proper licensing, but Wade needed to get rid of them. He and the ranch manager eventually struck a deal for about $2,500, less than half of what Taylor had told him they'd fetch. Wade was at the ranch for a couple of hours before finally leaving between 9:30 and 10 a.m. Hours earlier, back in East Texas, Reagan was at home with Kinley, her 3-year-old daughter. Homer had left for work. Reagan was due at the Flying Burger at 9 a.m. for what was meant to be her final shift before maternity leave began. She needed to drop Kinley at daycare first. At 7:22 a.m., Reagan's phone received a message from the number Taylor had purchased and tested the previous evening. Taylor arrived at the home at approximately 7:30 a.m. At 7:49 a.m., a second message went to Reagan's phone from the same number. 3 minutes later, at 7:52 a.m., Reagan's phone sent back a response. It was the last outgoing activity ever recorded on her phone. Once inside the home, Taylor began her attack. The attack moved through multiple areas of the house. Reagan fought. Crime scene evidence showed she remained standing and continued moving through the home while bleeding heavily, making her way from room to room before eventually going down on the floor where the assault continued. Reagan had been beaten with both ends of a claw hammer. She had also been struck with a 4-pound jar filled with pink and blue sand. It had been inside the house, within reach. Taylor used it against her.
There's blood everywhere. There was a bloody jar in the kitchen. There was a bloody jar full of sand in the living room. There was...
What do you mean a bloody jar? There was so much blood that blood was overflowing into a jar?
It was mason jars.
Okay.
And it was actually from their wedding. You know how you pour the sand into the mason jars for weddings?
Okay.
One of them was empty and the other one had the sand in it. I believe the one in it was about 4 pounds, I think is what we...
I'd have to look at it again.
I can't
4
recall.
or 5 pounds worth of sand.
It was
just
a
heavyweight.
And when I say blood was on it, I'm talking blood transfer from like a hand onto it.
Okay, got you.
And looking
And
at
spatter.
her,
Okay.
and spatter and things like that. And looking at the blood on that, then it was like, well, she was beaten with one of these jars. Once we started looking at the body, she had an indentation on her head that we knew come from a jar, probably come from the jar with the sand in it because it's a heavier object.
She suffered 113 sharp force injuries, 15 stab wounds, and 98 incised wounds. 2 perforated her jugular vein, several reached the bone. She suffered 39 blunt force injuries, primarily to her face and head, along with a broken nose and 5 skull fractures. There was evidence consistent with possible strangulation. Reagan had defensive wounds across her hands and arms. One of her fingers was dislocated. Another was almost completely severed. She had fought for her life with everything she had.
We had blood everywhere. So our first initial thought was this woman fought for her life. She fought this suspect, this person come in, she fought. The victim's fingernails are broken and things like that. She was covering up. She was ambushed. She was hit. She's covering up the whole time, and she's being beaten with something. She's been beaten in the back of the head. She was, fingers were broke. She's got bruising on her arms where she was just taking a beating, and she's covering up. Well, we got blood in the kitchen, and we got blood in the living room, and we got blood at the front door. And
This is happening everywhere in the house. She's running away
Yes.
while
She's trying to escape the assault, and
she got assaulted right at the door at the kitchen,
Yes.
in the garage door.
Yeah.
Whenever she was assaulted, I believe she was hit in the back of the head with an object, either a hammer or a crowbar. And it takes more than one hit to start blood spatter. The first hit lacerates the skin. So whenever she was hit, she starts bleeding. And we had blood on a refrigerator that was blood spatter from hair. You could tell it was from hair, where she went down, she got up, she tried to run out the front door, was attacked at the front door, brought back in the living room, and then she was brutally attacked there. Up against the wall, we had the blood spatter on the wall. You could pretty much, with the blood, look at everywhere she had been.
At some point during the attack, Taylor removed Braxlynn. She sliced Reagan's abdomen open from one hip to the other, removed the uterus entirely, sliced it open, and took both the baby and the placenta. The scalpel she used was left behind, lodged in Reagan's neck.
And I looked at my partner and I said, she was alive when that baby was taken. And he says, I think you're right. And the reason we come to that conclusion was because of the blood and the absence of blood. We could tell by the blood spatter and the blood stains where she was at when the baby was fully removed. So once that baby was pulled from her, which she fought for, as she was walking off, you could tell she was trying to go after her and then died on the floor. The reason we know that she had struggled and tug of war with a baby is one of her broken fingernails. She had like press-on nails, and we found 3 at the house and we were missing 1. Well, that fingernail was found in the uterus of the child whenever they recovered the uterus. So she was pulling hard enough for her to lose a nail.
The attack was so severe that some of her wounds did not bleed at all. Her blood pressure had already dropped too far.
The brutality that was done, I mean, she was beaten with objects. She was beaten with a 4-pound mason jar full of sand, and she was sliced, she was cut. She was cut literally from back behind the ear. They come all the way to right about here. I believe that was one of the last ones of making sure that she is deceased. I believe she was on her stomach. I believe she walked up to her, raised her head, started here, and cut, because all this big cut was what we call a post-mortem incised wound. There was no blood in that wound. I had the incised wound up here where she was cut in the face. Here, I could show them how clean it was. And when it's clean like that, it's post-mortem because there's no longer any blood.
Taylor wrapped Braxlynn in a towel. Before leaving, she lifted the baby toward Reagan and said, "Tell Mama bye." Kinley had been in the house throughout. The 3-year-old had been crying. Taylor told her to go back to her room. At some point during the attack, Taylor changed her shoes. She had arrived in open-toed white sandals, the ones captured on the Easy Mart surveillance camera that morning. she left in white snake print Crocs. Her footprints in those Crocs ran back and forth through the blood, around the blanket on the floor, and around Reagan's body. The sandals were never found. Taylor left Reagan where she lay, carried Braxlynn out to the car, and drove away from Austin Street. Cell tower data placed her departure between 9:09 and 9:14 a.m. Less than 2 hours had passed since she first arrived. Reagan's phone went with her. Its last network connection was recorded at 9:26 a.m., far from Austin Street. Taylor headed toward Oklahoma. Taylor drove west along US Highway 82 in Wade's Toyota Corolla. In her lap, wrapped in whatever she had brought, was Braxlynn. The baby, according to Taylor, had been alive when she left, but somewhere along that highway, Taylor looked over and realized the baby was no longer breathing. At approximately 9:36 a.m., Texas State Trooper Leonzel Shavers observed a vehicle being driven erratically, speeding with its hazard lights on, nearly striking a pickup truck before the driver took evasive action, crossing the double yellow center lines, then swerving towards the shoulder and almost hitting a man on a bicycle. He initiated a traffic stop. As he pulled in behind her, the driver was waving out the window, urging him to come quickly. Taylor reached for her phone and dialed 911. New Boston Police Department dispatcher Katie Jimenez took the call.
New Boston 911, what's your emergency?
I have a state trooper behind me, and I need an ambulance because I started having my baby.
Okay, stay on the line. I'm going to get you to LifeNet.
I got a trooper behind
Okay,
me.
stay on the line. Stay on the line. It's going to be okay. Stay on the line. Has he pulled you over, ma'am?
Yeah.
Okay, just stay calm. It's going to be okay.
Your emergency?
I just need an ambulance to get to Idabel.
What's your address?
I'm parked on the side of the road.
Let me know where she's located at.
It looks like on my computer system is saying in decab.
We're going to Idabel for my doctor if I need to get up there.
She said she's gone into labor. She has a state trooper behind her.
Okay. State trooper there with now.
Yeah, he was pulling her over as she called.
All right, ma'am, are you still here with me?
Ma'am?
Are you still here with us?
Yeah, I'm pretty
All right, what's the phone number that you're calling from? Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
I started having my baby.
Okay, all right, just stay here with me. How old are you?
As Shavers approached the car, he saw a newborn baby in Taylor's lap. The umbilical cord was still attached, the other end tucked into her yoga pants. The baby did not appear to be moving or breathing. Shavers noticed something else. The hand Taylor was holding the phone with was shaking. The other hand, resting on the baby in her lap, was perfectly still.
What's wrong, man?
I had my baby, and I'm trying to get to Idabel Hospital.
Idabel?
Yeah, my husband's up there.
Why aren't you going to St. Michael's or somewhere?
We're going to Idabel. It's where my doctor is. I need to get up there.
Man, I need to call LifeNet or something like that. I can't let you drive. Let me get LifeNet on the way.
Taylor continued insisting she had to get to Idabel. When Shavers asked why she didn't want to go to St. Michael's in Texarkana or Titus Regional Medical Center, she told him her doctor was already in Idabel and that St. Michael's had hurt her last baby.
I am out here with a lady who just had a baby. The baby is not breathing. She's on the phone with EMS. She's trying to get to Idabel Hospital, but...
We got to go to Idabel. That's where I'm going. I'm not going to St. Michael's.
Okay.
They hurt my last baby. I'm not going there. I just need LifeNet and they can take me.
On the phone with a different EMS?
It sounds like it.
I guess. Okay.
But the baby's not breathing. She's trying to do tubes all on the baby right now.
Okay, where are you looking at, sir? What's your closest intersection to you?
Can you put me in your car and take us?
We're on US 82, right across from the DeKalb Middle School in DeKalb. At 82 on Beatty Street.
Can you just put me in your car and drive us so we're not sitting, please? I'm begging you to.
But there's nothing I can do. You're gonna need EMS.
I'm fine. If you'll just get us there as quick as possible, they'll meet us. Please, I'm begging you.
I just need EMS.
Please.
We're en route, sir. Is she on the line with another EMS service right now?
She was. I don't know if they're still on the line.
Still on the phone talking. I can't understand him.
Okay, do you
know
want
what time
me
you have the baby?
to talk to her?
I'm here. Can you call my husband?
Yes.
How old is the baby?
The baby's only like maybe 35 minutes old.
Where's he at?
He was delivering hogs right outside of Idabel. That's what I was trying to get to.
903-219?
No, 293. And tell him to go. No, I was talking to them.
At some point, she also called Wade. Amanda Perkey worked at the school directly across the road. She was on her way back from picking up a prescription when she saw the Corolla on the shoulder, with the driver's side door open and what looked like a small child on someone's lap. She got to the overpass, but her gut told her to turn back. She started Googling infant CPR on her phone. She asked the trooper if there was a baby in distress. There was. The baby was grey, cold and clammy.
Are you a nurse? Hey, this woman is a nurse.
I don't work as one right now, but I do have my license.
805. Please help me.
805, go ahead.
I'm trying to, I gotta get
Got a 50 minor in front of the Honda, the 12520 SM 1840 for the Trailblazer and the Tahoe. They're on the roadway.
Amanda noted it didn't look like a baby that had just been born. It was unusually clean, as if it had been wiped down. She started chest compressions in Taylor's lap. An off-duty EMT arrived shortly after and took over. Amanda also attended to Taylor. She described her as disheveled, with dark circles under her eyes and dried blood on her face, hands and feet. Taylor told her she had been at the Walmart in New Boston when she felt pressure, got in the car, felt the need to push, and the baby came out while she was driving. The blood, Amanda noted, looked dry. Amanda and the off-duty EMT decided they needed to remove Taylor's yoga pants, standard procedure following a delivery to check for bleeding. They used trauma shears to cut them off. As they did, the placenta fell onto the floorboard of the car. They found a pair of pajama pants in the back seat and changed her into those. Taylor also had 2 phones with her, a flip phone and a larger smartphone, both visible in the car. When they helped Taylor to the trooper's vehicle, Amanda said she acted shaky and weak, like dead weight, sitting gingerly when she got in. While Amanda was cleaning the blood from Taylor's face and hands with wet paper towels and water bottles, Taylor looked down at herself. She said, "She's all over me."
Wiping your face and stuff off, okay? I've had her all over me. I know that. I'm going to take this and wipe your hands. You rub it around on your hands. I'm going to get you on your feet.
Taylor reached down her pants and said she was still bleeding.
Who's your OBGYN?
I was seeing Amanda White. She's a holistic midwife.
Mm-hmm. Have you talked to her?
No, not dead.
Oh. She's here in Texas or in Oklahoma?
No, over in Oklahoma.
You want to call me? Wade, well, I've already come to Wade. He knows to meet you at the hospital. Okay?
What's taking so long? Oh, God.
We have to go to the hospital. We're not going to make Idabel. We're going to Titus, okay? We got to go to this ambulance here. Have them take you to Titus, okay?
I don't let it go to Titus.
Can't say for the Idabel. It's all close enough.
You won't hug her.
Well, no, because we're going to Titus.
Yeah, but she might still need to know.
No, I know the freaking OB's up there.
Okay.
What's taking so long?
They've already left.
They're coming for you. So here's one right here for you.
2 ambulances were called to the scene. One took Braxlynn and paramedic Elton Crossland to McCurtain Memorial Hospital in Idabel. The other took Taylor.
How old you say you was?
27.
27?
I think I was born in 92.
Okay. So you was on your way to Idabel to have the baby?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. It's all right. Just relax on. That's
Yes.
The trooper noticed her white snake print Crocs on her feet and brought them with her to the ambulance.
He's over here.
Have we heard that she's okay?
I haven't heard.
The 2 ambulances arrived at McCurtain Memorial Hospital in Idabel, Oklahoma, shortly after 10 a.m. Paramedic Elton Crossland and his partner had spent 34 minutes in the back of the ambulance working on Braxlynn. They had administered CPR continuously, intubated her, established an intraosseous IV line in her left lower leg, and given repeated doses of epinephrine. By the time they pulled up to the hospital, they had restored a pulse. The heart rate was under 60 beats per minute, and she was not breathing on her own, but there was a pulse. On arrival, Dr. William Heron took over Braxlynn's care. He placed her on an external pacemaker to try to stabilize her heart rate. While the resuscitation efforts continued on Braxlynn, hospital staff turned their attention to Taylor. Taylor had been admitted to the emergency department and listed herself as the baby's mother in the admissions paperwork, but the nurses in the emergency room were already uncertain. Paramedic Elton Crossland had shared his suspicions with the medical team before they even examined her. The dried, flaking amniotic fluid on the baby, the clotted, separated blood in the umbilical cord, the absence of any sign of birth in the car. The scene did not match the story.
We can do blood on that and prove that it's not hers, so if she wants to...
Can I help you?
This is a big deal. Yeah. Do not let her out that door.
I'm gonna need it.
Real chunky in there.
I can go that way, right? So she shows no signs. You can't check for hemorrhaging. She should be hemorrhaging by now.
Nurse Laurie Gibson was the first to examine Taylor. She pushed on her abdomen, a routine post-delivery check to confirm the uterus was contracting properly and not bleeding. She could not feel it. There was no uterus. She called for an ultrasound and for Dr. Heron to perform a vaginal examination, but Taylor refused. A second nurse examined Taylor more thoroughly. Taylor's vital signs were stable. Her lab results were normal for a healthy woman, not consistent with someone who had just lost a significant amount of blood during delivery. There was what the nurse described as scant period blood between her thighs. No blood from her vaginal area, and no HCG, the pregnancy hormone that remains present in a woman's system for weeks after childbirth, was detected in her bloodstream.
Okay, what is HCG?
It's a hormone that is secreted by the placenta only.
Okay.
And if there's a baby in there, the HCG is what the hormone that mandates going and getting the nutrients and bringing it to baby.
Okay.
So it's in mama's blood, mama's urine, mama's everything.
Okay.
And it stays up for 6 weeks.
Okay. All right.
It's taken off. You don't want no part of it.
Huh?
You don't want no part of this. He took off. He's the OBGYN. Yeah, I was going to called up resuscitating the baby.
What did we step into? Oh, it's interesting. So,
Kidnapping almost.
I think it's going to be that.
Police arrived at the hospital and staff immediately raised their concerns, so they went in to question her and push for answers.
She's in there. She refuses to have a vaginal check to make sure she's not hemorrhaging. They've done an ultrasound and HCG, and it doesn't show that she's been pregnant. They have the placenta.
Where's she?
She is in the room. She
You're
is
not letting her leave?
No. She is in the room.
Hey there. What's your name?
Taylor Parker.
Taylor? Hey, my name's Chad Dansby. Hold on. OSBI agent up here, and I heard you brought your baby in.
Yes, sir.
Did you give birth on the side of the road or something?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Where was that here? In Curtin County?
No, it was in DeKalb.
DeKalb down in Texas?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. The nurses said that you weren't going to let the doctor check you to make sure you weren't hemorrhaging or anything.
They did an ultrasound. The hemorrhaging is the bleeding. Whether you're passing clots or not passing clots, it's really good to have you checked for that, because I know I was passing massive clots and they were about to start giving me blood. That's why they're wanting to check how, any damage, and check to make sure you're not bleeding inside internally. That's why they're wanting to make sure.
That's okay. That's fine. I didn't know it was a big deal not to want the guy to do that.
No, I mean, if you don't want to, that's up to you, but that's why they're wanting to check, just to make sure.
Make sure you're okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, you've got blood all over you and all over your fingernails, and I mean, that's a pretty intense thing.
Having it on the side of the road?
Yeah.
It's scary. You want to make sure you're okay.
Is that okay? That's fine. I mean, that's fine.
You can get the doctor there.
Yeah.
I'll get a feet check. I'm mostly concerned about your health.
Yeah, that's the big concern, too.
Did I do something wrong for them bringing me over here?
What did you have? Did you have a boy or a girl?
A girl.
A girl. Okay.
You got a name yet?
Clancy Gale.
Clancy Gale.
Did I do something wrong?
No. Yes,
Finally, Taylor agreed to the examination, and while waiting for the doctor to arrive, investigators pressed her further, explaining that they knew about her hysterectomy and that she could not physically have a baby.
I'm just going to be upfront with you. We know that you had a hysterectomy some time back, and that you've claimed to be pregnant for a while, but that you really weren't. So trying to figure out where this baby came from. But you didn't give birth this morning.
What do you mean?
That's what I just said. You didn't give birth this morning. And we want to know where this baby came from. That's why I'm here. So what happened?
I just told y'all what happened.
Okay. What's the doctor going to find when he comes in and checks you? Is he going to find you just gave birth? They can tell. When he looks, he can tell in about a second if you gave birth or not.
Okay.
So is he going to find that you gave birth this morning?
Yes.
Okay. But the information I've got is you've had a hysterectomy in the past, and if you have a hysterectomy, you can't be pregnant. And you came into a hospital with a newborn. We want to know where this newborn came from.
Okay.
So you still saying it came from you?
Yes.
Okay. Because we can do DNA on it and build a tale pretty quick.
So you gave birth to this child?
Yes.
We're just making sure, okay? If there's anything you need to talk us about, you can.
I don't know what everybody wants me to talk about.
Hi.
All right.
Let's see. So we're going to check you, huh? All right. Well, let me have them set you up then, where I can see what I'm doing. All right.
Yes.
Let me get the girls here.
Finally, Dr. Heron arrived, and he performed a vaginal examination, confirming almost immediately what everyone knew.
So, it surely doesn't look like a baby came out of there.
He found no cervix. He saw only faint traces of blood at the internal end of the vaginal canal, what he described as scant traces. There was no uterus to be found. Taylor Parker had not had one since 2015.
She doesn't look like she had a baby.
It doesn't?
No.
Okay.
Does not look like she had a baby to come there, have it ready. So what happened?
Yes, hey, nothing happened.
Didn't give birth.
This was her first.
Yeah. This is not your baby. So what happened?
But Taylor sat in the emergency room, insisting she had just delivered the baby herself, maintaining her account even as the medical picture told a different story. She was adamant. She had given birth in the car. The baby was hers.
My question is Taylor a cold-blooded murderer? Or was it something else? I mean, sometimes people, they go through depression and, some mental issues and things. Causes good people to make bad choices. And that's kind of where I'm here at today. I knew that doctor ain't gonna find anything. Because I already know a lot of things I ask, I already know the answer to before I ask. But one thing I'm trying to figure out is, why did this happen? What was going on? Is it something like, maybe you're going through some depression, maybe you're going through some, some emotional things, and just for whatever reason, you made some bad choices, right? Or is it because you set some woman up, targeted her to kill her and steal a baby? Okay, I tell you, most of the people are going to assume the worst. They're going to assume you're an evil person and that you just butchered this lady and left her to rot on the side of the road so you could steal her baby. I don't think that was the case. I mean, you don't seem like that type of person, man.
I didn't kill anybody.
Where'd this baby come from? We're past all of that. Taylor, we're past that.
I did not kill anybody. I didn't kill anybody.
So was she alive when you left?
I wasn't with her. It's mine.
Can't be.
While doctors and nurses in Oklahoma were beginning to question Taylor's story, Reagan was lying on the floor of her home on Austin Street, 12 miles away. For her family, the morning had started like any other. Homer had left for work. Family members expected to hear from Reagan throughout the day as they normally would. But Homer had been getting strange texts from her phone since around 7 a.m. Some of it sounded like her, but the tone was wrong. Something was off. At 9:34 a.m., his neighbor Brittany messaged him on Facebook to say the family's new black lab puppy was loose in the street. Homer tried to call Reagan. She didn't answer. That wasn't like her. He called again, then again. He called the daycare, family members, anyone who might be able to get to the house quickly. He started driving back to New Boston from Texarkana, where he worked. Before driving back, he had called Reagan's mother, Jessica, saying he was concerned he couldn't reach Reagan and asked her to check on her. Jessica was at work when the call came. She told him she would head over. Meanwhile, neighbor Brittany and her mother had gone over to the house and knocked on the door. It was not pulled all the way shut. It opened slightly. No one answered. On the way to the house, Jessica stopped at Kinley's daycare. If Kinley was there, she told herself, at least she'd know the little girl was safe. She explained to the daycare worker why she was checking. The worker went to look. When she came back, she told Jessica that Kinley wasn't there. Jessica got back in her car. She called her husband Marcus as she drove past the police station, considering going in and telling them something was wrong. Marcus told her to go to the house first and see if Reagan's car was there. It was. When Reagan's mother, Jessica, reached the house and went inside, she found something no parent should ever see. There was a bloody handprint on the back door. She stepped inside and found Reagan face down on the floor, covered in blood. Reagan's blonde hair was soaked red. The kitchen was wrecked. Jessica called to her anyway, yelling her name, pleading for her to say something, but the house was quiet and dark. She left the house and fell to her knees in the yard. She said, "I knew from all of the blood that she was gone. I think I screamed because I didn't know what to do. I think I fell to my knees and then I called 911. That call came in between 10:15 and 10:18 a.m. Marcus arrived shortly afterwards with his friend Chris Hughes. Jessica begged her husband not to go in. He didn't need to see Reagan like that, but he went in anyway. He came back out with his hand over his mouth, shouting, "Why?" He fell to the ground in the driveway and began having chest pains. Marcus's first thought had been Kinley. He went back in and called her name over and over, moving through the blood. He called 5 times before he heard a muffled voice. Chris Hughes, who had been unable to get through the locked front door, made his way around Reagan's body and through the darkened house. He found Kinley on her bed, under a blanket. Thankfully, she was unharmed. Bowie County Sheriff's Office investigator Chad Ford was among those dispatched to Austin Street at around 10:30 a.m. He had spent years working crime scenes. The Hancock house, he would say, was probably the bloodiest scene he had ever been to. Reagan was found deceased inside. The scale of violence was immediately apparent. This was not a typical homicide investigation. A LifeNet paramedic was called to the scene to determine whether Reagan's unborn baby could be saved. EMS personnel turned Reagan's body over. A body camera captured what they found: a large incised wound running across her lower abdomen. Her womb had been opened. The baby was gone.
As I'm there, they told me that she was pregnant. And I thought, okay, so she's pregnant. And then next question was, well, how's the baby? Is the baby going to be able to be delivered or what? And they went in there and they come back and said, well, the baby's gone. And so my remark was, the baby is gone as in deceased or is gone as in gone? And they said, no, the baby is gone. The baby is missing. And as soon as they told me that, I mean, your mind starts running. We got to contact hospitals. We got to get officers. It sounds horrible, but we got to get officers starting to look at dumpsters near around and things like that. And you start playing 1,000 scenarios through your head.
When Homer arrived, the crime scene tape was already up. Kinley was in the driveway. They didn't let him inside. Investigators now faced 2 urgent priorities. The first was understanding what had happened inside the home. The second was finding Braxlynn, because although Reagan had died, there was reason to believe her baby might still be alive. Detectives began working backwards through Reagan's final hours, reviewing phone records, identifying recent contacts, and establishing who had been with her that morning. It didn't take long for Taylor's name to surface.
And we started doing our initial walkthrough, and the first thing I noticed at the scene was a lot of bloody footprints, shoe impressions. And at that time, I told the responding officer I want names, pictures, boot sizes of everybody that's been in the house, because I knew it may come down to shoe impression comparisons. At the time, we didn't know what we had. You're running scenarios through your head and you're thinking, well, boyfriend done it, husband found out that she was pregnant by somebody else, he done it. You start running all kinds of scenarios. And I even told the guys whenever we had our meeting, I said 3 things can happen. I said either the husband's the suspect, or she has a boyfriend. I said, or just some random psycho come and done it. And unfortunately, it was the third choice out of that. And so we got there and took overall photographs at first, and then the shoe impressions. I got to looking at shoe impressions, and we determined that there were 2 different style of shoe impressions. Okay, we had those 2, and as we were starting to do our thing, then word come out that a state trooper had stopped a woman in decap and had delivered a baby and was going to Idabel.
The 2 agencies started talking. As information moved between Texas and Oklahoma, the picture that emerged was almost impossible to comprehend. In New Boston, they had a woman deceased on the floor of her home, her baby cut from her womb and missing. 12 miles away across the state line in Oklahoma, they had a woman who had appeared roadside with a newborn child, despite mounting medical evidence that she had not given birth. What had appeared to be two separate incidents were obviously one.
Well, we're thinking she's in DeKalb. Why wasn't she going to St. Michael's? Why wasn't she going to Mount Pleasant? Why Idabel? Mm-hmm. And it was a dispatcher that actually turned the detectives on to say, hey, just a little while ago, we had a trooper said a woman delivered a baby on the side of the road. But they started checking into that. Come to find out, it was Parker that had the baby and was heading to Oklahoma. And the reason she was heading to Oklahoma is because she's already burned bridges in St. Michael's and Mount Pleasant. She couldn't use either one of the hospitals because she's had a hysterectomy or a partial hysterectomy, and she couldn't have any children. Mm-hmm. And so once we found out it was an abduction of the child, then you kind of start honing in on, okay, now what do we look for? It's an abduction of somebody that come in the house and took. You kind of start changing your mind and your theories a little bit about what's going on.
The next day, Jessica sat down and wrote a Facebook post. She didn't have it in her to say much. She wrote, "Our beautiful daughter, Reagan Hancock, and her precious unborn baby girl, Braxlynn, were murdered yesterday by Satan in the flesh. I found her, and Marcus and Chris were on scene right after me. Our family, friends, and community are rocked to the core. Our Reagan was one of the most precious people you would ever meet. Please, I beg, keep us in your prayers." From the Facebook group that had been set up to plan Reagan's baby shower, Marcus and Jessica posted a single message to everyone who had been invited. "Our beautiful girls have been ripped from us by pure evil. There will be no shower." In the days that followed, 2 fundraisers set up by friends of the family raised more than $30,000. Donations came in from London, Italy, and across the world. A family friend who organized one of the appeals wrote that Reagan and her baby had been selfishly killed by someone Reagan considered a friend.
Found the woman this morning on the side of the road, and her baby has been removed from her body. And then you show up with a baby, and the information is you've had a hysterectomy. There's no way you could have been pregnant, even though you've been telling people for a while you've been pregnant. There's no way you could have been pregnant. And
I didn't hurt anybody on the side of the road.
well, I'm not saying you did. I'm just saying that there's a woman that had her baby removed from her body. Her body's found on this side of the road. I didn't say you did. I just want to know what happened, where this baby came from.
She sat quietly for a while as the investigator spoke to her, trying to get her to admit the truth, seemingly thinking through what she was going to say next.
Well, here's where we're at, Taylor. And I'm just going to be brutally honest, okay? Right now, the DA down there who I've talked to believes that you're a cold-blooded killer and that you plotted for the last 8 months to murder this woman and steal her baby. And right now, the evidence is there. They can prove it without a shadow of a doubt that that's what happened. They can prove that you murdered that woman and that you're a cold-blooded murderer. Everybody's happy, they're having showers, and then somebody comes along and cuts her damn baby out of her gut. That's what we got right now, and that's what you need to understand. That's the point where we're at. We're past all this nonsense about, I wasn't there, I didn't kill nobody. We're past all of that. We know it. We know you did it. There's no doubt whatsoever. You seem kind of confused, like maybe you've been going through some depression or something. Or maybe you took some medication or something that, you know, like I said, that made a good person make bad choices. I don't know. In this case, the worst is that Taylor's a cold-blooded murderer who stole a woman's baby from her. That's what the evidence looks like right now. Like I said, I really want to believe that you're not a bad person, that you just made a bad choice. That happens sometimes. It's okay. It's okay you made a bad choice. Everybody does. But we just have to, you know, what was going on, you know? You're going to have to help me explain it, because I want to believe that you're not an evil person, you're not a bad person. I want to believe that there was something going on up here. Maybe, they have some, there's some mental things that, where people have attention. There's conditions. Munchausen by proxy, Munchausen. It's 10 or 15 different ones, but a lot of times it's psychological stuff. People, their brains kind of get off whack a little bit. You know what I mean? Their thinking's not quite right. And if that's the case, man, I'd like to help you. You know what I'm saying? Get you some help. Because we got a dead woman. Her baby was missing. It's one of two things. It's real easy. It's one of two things. Either you're a cold-blooded killer with no remorse, you're not sorry, you don't care, or it's a good person and bad choice. Why did that happen?
As he pressed further and began raising the growing body of evidence against her, explaining that investigators would be verifying every detail, her story started to shift. She began crying, admitting that she had been at Reagan's home that morning and insisting that she had never meant to hurt her.
So what happened? What happened to you? Why did this happen? Did you mean to hurt the woman? You didn't mean to hurt her? Or are you saying she's dead? Is it the deal you just wanted a baby so bad that did it just kind of overpowered your brain and everything?
My head's been hurting.
It's been hurt.
I had a stroke in 2015.
Okay. Well, see, that's what I'm talking about, That gives me something to explain to them. Help them understand what they're seeing and why they're seeing what they're seeing. You see what I'm saying? So what happened today? How did this all come about? Is she a friend of yours? So did she come to your house?
She told me to come over.
Oh, so you went to her house? Okay. What happened then?
She claimed that she and Reagan had gotten into an argument that escalated into a physical altercation and alleged that Reagan had accidentally hit her head on a table during the struggle.
Did she say something to you to make you mad or something, or what happened?
She grabbed a hold of me and told me that I was a liar.
Okay. So she grabbed hold of you. Did you try to fight back?
Well, we both fought back.
You both fought back? Yeah. And then what happened?
We both hit each other. And she hit her head on the table.
She hit her head on the table. Okay. That's okay. Hey, that stuff happens sometimes, Stuff happens. It's all right. So do you think she had died when she hit her? Is it a deal where maybe she, when she hit her head, did you think she died? Then you were trying to save the baby?
Yeah. And I really wanted the baby.
I understand that. That shows what a good person you are.
I was trying to save her.
I understand. That's obvious. You called the ambulance.
Taylor then said she had performed the cesarean section herself in an attempt to save the baby's life.
So she hit her head. So you tried to save the baby. So did you I guess you got the baby out of it. You did like a C-section on her. From memory. So how did you go from her laying there with her head hip to you having the baby in your head?
Just remember trying to save the baby.
Clearly skeptical of her account, the investigator nevertheless tried to stay on her good side, calmly and kindly encouraging her to provide more details about the fight itself. At this point, Taylor appeared to grow more confident in her story, speaking more freely as she settled into her version of events and continued describing what she claimed had happened.
Your knuckles are red. Is that from punching that knuckle right there?
Was off.
Yeah. Did you ever hit her with anything other than your fist or anything? You remember?
She hit me outside.
She hit you outside. Okay. Did she run back into the house or something? Did you go in after her, or what happened then?
She grabbed a hold of my hair and shoved me in the garage. She grabbed me like this. Shoved me back through the door. The door was open. She said something, but I just can't remember what it was.
Right, that's okay. That's okay. I'm just trying to get it right in my head. Okay. And then she punches you. You punch her back, and she falls. She pushes you. You push her back. She falls pretty hard. And then I think you told me that
She grabbed a knife.
Okay.
Because I remember she stabbed me in my hand.
Toward bounds. Oh, the cut right there. Oh, right there. Okay.
And then there was something else.
Okay.
Right there, she got me tipping right there.
Okay. But she had a knife though. Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know why she grabbed it.
Okay. And you said it went on for a while. The fight.
A long while.
A long while. Okay.
It felt like.
Did she still have the knife?
She did, because she fell.
Okay. What happened when she fell?
There was blood.
So did you take the knife away from her? Or did you ever have a knife?
I did at one point.
Did you? Okay.
Because she... Because I don't want to lie.
No, that's okay. I don't want you to lie. So y'all are fighting, she's got a knife, and at some point you get the knife. Okay. Were you able to...
She grabbed something heavy because I'm very fluency with it, but I don't know what it was.
That's fine. So she grabbed something heavy and hit you with it. Okay. Was that when you had gotten the knife from her? Did you have the knife at point? Okay, so you get the knife from her, and then she hits you with something. I understand you right.
Yeah, because I don't know why I would ever hurt her. Because I've never hurt anybody.
Well, I can believe that.
I don't have a record.
I can believe that. So y'all fighting around. You end up with a knife, and she hits you with. She apparently picks up something, hits you with something heavy. You're not sure what it was, and then she fell, and there was blood. Did you stick her with the knife, or
No, she fell with the knife because I shoved her.
Okay, so she get the knife back from you.
We both had it in our hands a few times.
Oh,
I don't.
Okay, I'm just trying to get it right in my head. You know what I mean? So.
Because she stuck me first.
Okay.
But I don't remember why she kept calling me.
What was she calling you? I mean, like still calling you a liar, or just still calling you something else?
No, she told me that I was gonna rot. And that she'd kill me if I touched her again.
Was this before y'all started fighting or after?
This was during
the fight. Okay.
Because she went in the kitchen and grabbed the drawer. And there was stuff in it because I remember it rattling.
Mm-hmm.
He then pressed her to explain the knife injury in more detail. Taylor claimed that Reagan had fallen onto the knife herself and insisted that, because she had been present, people would assume she was responsible for what had happened.
So, at what point did she fall with the knife and there was blood? Was that in the kitchen, or was it somewhere else?
She fell in the living room.
In the living room. Okay. Did she fall like on her back fall, or like on her side fall, or on her face stand?
Down forward.
Forward. Okay. Where did the blood come from? You know?
Her neck.
From the neck.
But she was bleeding on her head from smacking that concrete. I just remember seeing her fall. I don't remember seeing her just smack her face.
Okay. Well, that's fine. It's fine. So you're in the living room. Y'all been fighting. She went in.
Yeah, because we moved the furniture and shit around.
Okay. So she falls, and she's got the knife. Did she fall on the knife? Is that what you believe, or is that what you know, or you don't know?
She had to because I didn't.
You didn't stab
I didn't stab her.
Okay, that's fine. So afterwards, did it look like she'd been, like the knife had hit
She grabbed something and started smacking herself with it and told me that they would believe I did it.
Oh, okay, so she started hitting herself with something? Was that before or after she fell and started bleeding out of her neck?
That was after.
After she was bleeding out of her neck.
Yes.
Okay. So she picks up something and starts hitting herself with it, to saying that, kind of setting you up, I guess.
She only said it like twice. She didn't just keep saying it.
Okay. Was she on the ground when she was doing that, or was she standing up?
She standing up in the living room.
Okay.
Finally, he turned to the cesarean section itself and asked how that had happened. Taylor's lies continued as she told investigators that Reagan had asked her to take the baby.
At that point, I mean, she's obviously pregnant. You're worried about the baby. It's her. If she's dying, that make the baby die, right? So is that the point where you decided to try to save the baby? Did you get the knife that she had? So imagine it was laying there handy, or did you go get another knife?
No. I came to screaming for her to push.
Okay.
She said take her.
Oh, she wanted you to tape her?
She said it a lot.
It would come out that she was wanting you to take her? Okay. That's okay. Hey, listen, that's all right. I mean, you're taking the kid's best interest,
I took her out, but I don't know what I had.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Do you remember cutting her open to get the baby out? Did you have much trouble getting it up, cutting her open?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's wanting you to save the baby.
She said she was dying.
She said she was dying. So you take the baby, but you don't remember what with, right? I'm understand. I don't know what the words are about.
No, I don't remember.
That's fine. That's okay. That's okay. So you take the baby out of her stomach. Is that right?
It fell out like she was pushing,
Mm-hmm.
and it come out.
Come out of her vagina?
No.
Or out of her stomach? Okay.
Because it was. She was still in the sack.
Oh, okay. All right. So it comes out of her stomach and it's still in the sack. Did you have to pull the sack apart to get the baby out?
Yeah, and I pulled it open and turned her over and started smacking her back.
Mm. So you get the baby out. You're saving the baby. All right. And then you leave. Right? Did you call for an ambulance? Or was you going to the hospital to try to get some help for the baby? Okay.
As the interview concluded, the investigator stepped out of the hospital room to speak with other members of staff, leaving Taylor alone with the female officer who had remained by her side and had been trying to reassure her throughout the process.
Do you want to talk about it?
I don't know what's wrong with me, because I've never been a bad person.
I don't think you are. How old were you when you had your hysterectomy?
I had it 2015.
It was after your 6-year-old was born? Or did it happen whenever you had your 6-year-old?
After my 6-year-old.
So you had another pregnancy after your 6-year-old? Okay.
I've never heard any, and I don't know what made me do that.
How long ago did you have a stroke?
I had a stroke in 2017, did it? I was completely paralyzed on my right side. Took me 8 months to relearn how to walk.
Okay. Do they know what happened? What brought it on?
I had blood clots.
Where at?
In my lungs. She should have killed me.
Meanwhile, as the investigators were trying to piece everything together, another tragedy was unfolding. Despite the efforts of the paramedics in the ambulance, and despite Dr. Heron's efforts at the hospital, Braxlynn's condition continued to deteriorate. Braxlynn Sage Hancock was pronounced dead at 1:22 p.m. on October 9th, 2020. The paramedics had brought her back in that ambulance. For a short time, her heart had beaten. The medical evidence would establish that this was only possible if she had been born alive. A stillborn infant could not have had her heartbeat restored across that timeline. She had lived for a matter of hours. Back with Taylor, officers from the Idabel Police Department formally took her into custody and booked her into jail.
Jail. Take her to jail.
Okay, they need to take the IV out.
I'll get a nurse in there with you, right?
Alright, so here's the deal. I'm gonna take you with me, okay? But we gotta take everything, like, with us too, and I have to put you in my car and stuff like that.
That one there and one Jeremy did it first.
You're clean. Do what? I'm not gonna hurt you. Nobody plans on hurting you, okay? That's not how we work here, okay? You're gonna be under arrest, okay? And you know that. But you've got to understand, we're not here to hurt you, okay? All right. That's fine.
Are you gonna help me get dressed?
I'll cover you up. We're gonna leave you with that because we can't put those other clothes on you because those are what you wore earlier, okay?
Do they have any, like,
We have scrubs that you can wear.
Sorry.
That tape hurts.
Yes, it does. Try to do it quick because it hurts, but it still don't make it any better.
I'm gonna have to cuff you, okay? All right. Okay.
She was initially charged with 2 counts of murder and 1 count of kidnapping. A capital murder charge would follow after the coroner's final report on Braxlynn was completed.
Watch toes.
Rather than waiting for formal extradition proceedings, Taylor waived extradition and was transferred to Texas on Wednesday, October 14th. She was booked into the Bowie County Bi-State Detention Center in Texarkana, where she was held without bond.
Sorry. You're okay.
I know those rocks hurt.
They do.
A little.
You go ahead and sit right there on that bench, okay?
The Texas Rangers conducted 2 formal recorded interviews. The first took place on October 9th, shortly after her arrest. The second came 5 days later, on October 14th, after the autopsy results had raised questions her earlier account could not answer. Across 5 hours of questioning in total, Taylor told him wildly different stories. Her description of what had happened inside the house shifted throughout, from a fight to a conversation, then back to a fight. In her final version, Taylor said she had not gone to Reagan's house to harm her. A crushing headache had overtaken her as she drove through New Boston that morning, and she had pulled over in a church car park on Highway 8, reclined her seat, and lost track of time. She claimed she barely knew how she had ended up at Reagan's house at all, that Reagan had called her repeatedly, insisting she come over, telling her there was something they needed to talk about. In Taylor's telling, the confrontation began in the garage. Reagan scratched her. When Taylor tried to leave, Reagan shut the garage door. There was a struggle in the living room. Reagan grabbed her hair, shook her, told her she wasn't right, that she wasn't herself. Taylor said she pushed her, and then she said everything changed. She described blood everywhere. Crime lab DNA analysis told a different story. Every blood sample taken from the scene and from Taylor's car came back as Reagan or Braxlynn. Not a single sample matched Taylor. Taylor initially claimed she couldn't remember bringing a knife to the house. Eventually, she admitted to using a scalpel from a medical kit she said she carried in her purse for use on her dogs during hog hunting. Reagan, she claimed, had been gravely injured and knew she was dying, and so she had begged Taylor to take the baby. Taylor told Mason she was screaming, "Take her out, take the baby out, I'm finished, I'm dying." She said, "You can have her, just take her." In one version, Taylor claimed Reagan had reached for the scalpel herself. A cesarean section performed without anesthesia produces pain so extreme that no conscious person could remain still through it. Reagan could not have been calm. Reagan could not have asked for anything. The claim that she had been lucid and willing was, the medical evidence established physically impossible. When investigators raised the scalpel recovered from Reagan's neck during the autopsy, Taylor said she was pretty certain she had put it down after removing the baby and hadn't touched Reagan's neck with it. Taylor had made no attempts to call emergency services after leaving Austin Street. She had not called for help for Reagan or Braxlynn. She drove away and made no contact with anyone until she was pulled over, despite the fact that in her own version of events, Reagan had specifically asked her to get help for the baby. She denied taking Reagan's phone from the house. She blamed everything, as she had always blamed everything, on her mother. As the second ranger's interview moved toward its close, investigator Weston Fannin laid out what the evidence showed. Then he asked her directly what her intent had been. Taylor sat quietly for a moment and said, "I wanted a baby. I've been wanting a newborn for months." In the days that followed her transfer to Texas, she confessed to faking the pregnancy. She admitted to using a small scalpel to cut the baby from Reagan Hancock's womb. During the ranger's interviews, she had told Mason she had suffered from depression after her divorce and experienced blackout episodes following a stroke in 2015. She claimed she had seen a counselor from late 2017 onwards. Investigators found no medical records supporting the stroke or the blackouts. She had seen a counselor, but had no mental illness diagnosis of any kind. In the days following the deaths of Reagan and Braxlynn Hancock, investigators began the painstaking work of untangling a story that, at first glance, seemed almost impossible to believe. To explain what had happened inside Reagan's home, they first had to understand the months of deception that had preceded it. The pregnancy, they established almost immediately, had never existed. Medical records confirmed what Taylor had known since 2015, that her hysterectomy had made it impossible for her to carry a child. Yet she had spent the better part of a year convincing those around her otherwise. The evidence of that deception appeared almost everywhere investigators looked. Photographs documenting her supposed pregnancy journey, social media posts, fake ultrasound images, maternity photographs, and preparations for a baby's arrival that was never going to come. But the fake pregnancy was only one part of what they found. The physical evidence from the crime scene was equally revealing.
So when we got the search warrants and everything, and we get inside the residence, you kind of just step back and you kind of just you let the scene talk to you. And it kind of sounds corny, but it's blood tells you a lot of things.
Crime scene technician Mark Sullivan identified 2 distinct sets of shoe prints running through the blood at the Hancock home. One set matched the white snake print Crocs Taylor had been wearing when Trooper Shavers pulled her over. The other matched the No Boundaries sandals she had been captured wearing on the Easy Mart surveillance footage that morning. The Croc prints ran back and forth through the blood, around the blanket on the floor, and around Reagan's body, meaning Taylor had been wearing them during and after the attack.
Well, looking at the scene, it was obvious to us that it was just a single person. There was a single person that committed this crime. And the reason we can confidently say that is because at the scene we had 2 different types of shoe impressions. You're going to assume one is suspects, one is victims. Well, as we start doing these shoe impressions with this, I say shoe impressions, they're blood impressions of shoe prints. Okay. Walking in blood, yes. And they're transferring that blood all over the floor. Sure. And we only had 2 different types of shoes. Well, we found out that Taylor Parker, when she was arrested, was wearing a pair of Crocs. Those Crocs were shown to the victim's mother. The victim said, "Those are my daughter's Crocs." She said, "I bought those Crocs for her. Those are her." Those were there at the house. So during all this altercation, Taylor Parker's wearing a pair of shoes, or their sandals is what she was wearing because of the shoe impression. She was wearing sandals, and then after she got the baby and all that, and she left, she cleaned up, and she took the victim's shoes to put them on to leave. Mm-hmm. So the shoe prints that belong to the victim was actually Taylor Parker walking around the house after she was deceased, walking through blood and cleaning up and things like that. We knew one was a crock. The other one we didn't know, and we searched and searched and searched for the type of pattern that it was. And we knew it was a sandal. And the reason we knew it was a sandal was because we have her on video at an Easy Mart right before the murders, and she was wearing a white pair of sandals. So we're focused on sandals, and we searched for days and days and days.
The sandals she had arrived in were never found. Neither was the fake pregnancy belly, nor the black jacket with the leopard print lining she had been wearing at the Easy Mart. All of it had been disposed of somewhere between Austin Street and where she had been pulled over. As investigators dug deeper into Taylor's communications, a more elaborate picture emerged. Throughout her relationship with Wade Griffin, she had used VoIP applications to create and maintain a vast cast of fictional identities, people who existed only in text messages and phone calls, conjured whenever a crisis needed explaining or a doubt needed quieting. The state's own court documents listed more than a dozen confirmed fictional characters: Shelley Links, Bill Prefert, John Reynolds, Linda Hall, Lisa from the bank, Uncle Butch, Blake Loington, and others, each with their own phone number, backstory, and purpose. Among the most active was Coburn, a supposed law enforcement insider who fed Taylor and Wade regular updates on the supposed murder-for-hire plot against her. According to Coburn, Jace, the fictional middleman in the hitman plot, had been arrested and booked on $800,000 bond. Then apparently, police had pinpointed Shona's location. She had been taken into custody. And then, in the most dramatic development yet, Coburn reported that Shona had taken her own life while in jail. Taylor told Wade that her mother was dead, and Wade grieved alongside her. But then at Christmas, Shona appeared alive at a family gathering. Taylor simply said everyone was shocked. She offered no explanation, and no one pushed her for one. Another character was Katie Jo Milhorn, a supposed relative who promised land deals and financial opportunities. Another was Mandy Boyd, the apparent author of a lengthy, emotional email describing years of abuse and manipulation by Shona Pryor, explaining away many of the financial disasters and personal crises that had begun to raise questions among those around Taylor. The email was detailed and convincing. Mandy Boyd did not exist. Taylor had written every word of it herself. The scale of what investigators found was difficult to comprehend. The financial damage ran alongside the deception at every stage. Investigators found that Taylor had made repeated promises of inherited wealth, millions in oil and gas royalties, valuable land holdings, sums always just around the corner. Each time money failed to arrive, another character appeared with an explanation. Investigators also established that the deception had not begun with Wade Griffin. A former boyfriend told detectives that Taylor had previously told him she was pregnant with his child, a pregnancy that had never existed. The digital evidence tied everything together. Taylor's search history and online activity showed an intense and sustained focus on pregnancy, childbirth, expectant mothers, and babies, activity that had escalated sharply in the weeks before October 9th.
It was all planned out.
Not to mention, she'd befriended other pregnant women that were all similar in due dates. So she had backup plans that if she couldn't get to this one, she'd get to the others. And unfortunately, it's just Reagan that was found and became the victim of it.
Cell phone location data placed her at the Hancock home the evening of October 8th. The following morning, before Wade had even reached Wynwood, she had already left Sims and was heading toward New Boston. The question investigators were now asking was no longer simply what had happened on October 9th. It was how long Taylor had been building toward it. By the time Taylor stood trial, nearly 2 years had passed since the morning of October the 9th, 2020. Taylor had pleaded not guilty to all charges. By the time the case came to trial, she faced charges of capital murder in the death of Reagan Hancock, capital murder in the death of Braxlynn Sage, and kidnapping. The two capital murder charges were bound together with the kidnapping by Texas law. To secure a capital murder conviction, rather than a straightforward murder charge, prosecutors had to prove that the killing occurred during the commission of another felony. That felony was the kidnapping of Braxlynn. This created the central legal battleground of the entire trial. Under Texas law, a fetus is not recognized as a person for the purposes of kidnapping, meaning prosecutors had to prove that Braxlynn had been born alive at the moment Taylor took her from the house. If the defense could establish that Braxlynn had never been alive outside the womb, the kidnapping charge would collapse, the capital murder charge would be reduced to murder, and the death penalty would be off the table. By the time the case was ready for court, prosecutors had assembled more than 100 individual exhibits and a witness list stretching to over 140 people. Investigators from multiple agencies across 3 states had contributed to the case. Jury selection alone took weeks. Approximately 2,000 potential jurors from Bowie County were summoned to New Boston High School. Defense attorney Jeff Harrelson argued for a change of venue, contending that local media coverage had made a fair trial in Bowie County impossible. Judge John Tidwell denied the motion. The defense's request for more time to prepare was also denied. And finally, on September 13, 2022, opening statements began at the Bowie County Courthouse in New Boston. 12 jurors, 6 men and 6 women, took their seats. They would hear testimony for the better part of 9 weeks. First Assistant District Attorney Kelly Crisp led the prosecution alongside ADA Lauren Richards. Jeff Harrelson, joined by co-counsel Mac Cobb of Mount Pleasant, represented Taylor. First Assistant District Attorney Kelly Crisp set out the prosecution's case from the very first day. She told the jury, "You are going to have to understand the fraud to understand what happened on October 9th. This started months and months ahead of time until it passed the point of no return and it ended up in homicide." The prosecution opened by taking the jury back through everything that had come before October the 9th. The architecture of deception Taylor had spent nearly a year building. Texas DPS Special Investigator Andrew Venable walked the jury through the full structure of the lies, the VoIP personas, the spoofed numbers, the fictional cast of characters introduced at precisely the moments crises needed explaining. Detective Kevin Berklio of the Irving Police Department's Major Crimes Unit, an expert in call detail records and geolocation analysis, then presented the timeline his investigation had built from cell phone data, location records, and search history. Detective Berklio told the jury that Taylor's behavior had escalated sharply from around September 15th, the same period when Wade received the anonymous message warning him she was not pregnant. From that point, the searching became almost daily and the travel intensified. He said it was a frenzy from that point forward until the murder. In the weeks between September 15th and October 9th, Taylor made repeated trips to pregnancy-related locations across the region, 6 separate trips to Paris, Texas, as well as Longview, Mount Pleasant, Idabel, and at least 1 trip to Shreveport. Her searches tracked closely with her movements. The locations she was physically visiting matched closely with what she had been searching for online: OB/GYN clinics and maternity stores across East Texas. Investigators also found that she had been searching for and watching videos about vaginal and cesarean deliveries, how to deliver and inspect a placenta, and how to obtain an out-of-hospital birth certificate. In the weeks before the murder, she had searched for maternity consignment shops and OB clinics where pregnant women would be found, and evidence suggested she had been attempting to get close to expectant mothers by posing as a midwife. 2 days before the murder, she searched Reagan's previous and current home addresses, as well as the address of Reagan's Texarkana OB/GYN. On the morning of October 9th itself, before she left Sims, she searched for information on a 35-week vaginal delivery. Reagan was 35 weeks pregnant. 2 witnesses testified that Taylor had approached them about serving as surrogates, offering 6-figure payments. Neither had agreed. A former boyfriend testified that Taylor had previously told him she was pregnant with his child, a pregnancy that turned out not to exist. The jury heard from Angela Patt, whose husband Roger was Wade's boss at Atlas Roofing. Angela described Taylor's behavior from their very first evening together as unsettling. She recalled how Taylor had drawn them into her family drama, telling them her mother had hired the Mexican mafia to kill her and that her inheritance was being withheld. Wade Griffin took the stand on the 12th day. He described the relationship as an emotional roller coaster and acknowledged every red flag he had missed or chosen to ignore. He confirmed Taylor had told him she was pregnant early in the relationship, then that she had miscarried, then in January 2020 that she was pregnant again. The paperwork had seemed real. The ultrasound images had looked real. He had trusted her. He did not know, he told the jury, that any of it was a lie. They also heard about the bomb threat. On the morning of October 5th, a call came into Titus Regional Medical Center at around 5:12 a.m., the date Taylor had told Wade she would be induced. The caller said there was a bomb. More than 100 patients were evacuated. The call had been made from a spoofed number, traced to an email account connected to Taylor. Texas Rangers Lieutenant Jared Brown testified that Taylor had used a voice-changing application to sound male. The bomb threat had been designed to prevent the hospital from exposing her. There was no induction scheduled. That same morning, a fire broke out beneath Wade's home. Forensic fire investigator Rick Jones testified it had been deliberately set. A cigarette lighter was found on the left side of the house. The prosecution then turned to the events of October 9th itself and the physical evidence. The jury heard the precise sequence of communications on the morning of the murder, the number purchased and tested the previous evening, the text sent to Reagan. Reagan's phone was never recovered. Crime scene technician Mark Sullivan described the scene inside the Hancock home. Reagan had been attacked across multiple locations throughout the house, had continued to stand and move while bleeding heavily, and the assault had continued even as she fell. He also testified to finding 2 distinct sets of shoe prints throughout much of the crime scene. One set was consistent with the Crocs Taylor was wearing when she was arrested. The other was consistent with the No Boundaries sandals she had been wearing on surveillance footage at the EZ Mart that morning. Whoever was wearing the Crocs, Mark Sullivan told the jury, had been doing a lot of walking back and forth through blood, around the blanket on the floor and around Reagan's body. Medical examiner Dr. Melinda Flores testified about Reagan's injuries. 113 sharp force injuries, 15 stab wounds, 98 incised wounds, 2 perforating her jugular vein, several reaching the bone, 39 blunt force injuries primarily to her face and head, a broken nose, 5 skull fractures, evidence of possible strangulation, a scalpel lodged in her neck. The concentration of injuries to Reagan's upper body, Dr. Flores testified, was consistent with an attacker directing violence deliberately away from her abdomen. Reagan's OBGYN, Dr. James Scales, testified that her pregnancy had been entirely normal. There were no signs of anything wrong with the baby. Dr. Scales was then asked about the cesarean section Taylor had performed. Taylor had taken reasonable care cutting into the uterus. She had not nicked the baby. She had, in his words, not done bad, implying that the incision had been made with deliberate care to preserve the infant.
And then she was cut from one hip to the other. She did not really, the baby and the uterus and all that was pretty well intact.
Yeah, the baby was not injured.
Okay.
The baby died pretty much because of
the sudden removal of the...
Traumatic extraction is the term the medical examiner used. It's mainly the mom was bleeding out so massively at that point that you're also denying that baby that blood flow. So it just wasn't going to survive outside after that much trauma.
Dr. William Heron testified about Braxlynn's condition on arrival. At approximately 35 weeks gestation, she weighed 7 pounds and measured 18.75 inches. She had no abnormalities. She had been viable. Dr. William Heron also testified that it would have been impossible to restore a heartbeat in a stillborn infant, concluding that the baby had been born alive. flight paramedic Elton Crossland testified about what he had found at the roadside. Taylor was sitting in the Toyota Corolla, holding a grey, motionless baby with the umbilical cord still attached and hanging into her clothing. The amniotic fluid on the infant was dried and flaky. Significant time had passed since the birth. When Crossland cut the cord, the blood inside was already separated and clotting. The baby had not been born in that car. Crossland and his partner began CPR and administered epinephrine during the 34-minute transport to McCurtain Memorial. During that journey, they restored a pulse. The jury then heard from Shonery Yeager, who had met Taylor in the Bowie County Bi-State Jail while working as a trustee. Yeager testified that Taylor had described cutting the baby out of Reagan, first using a knife already at the scene, then retrieving a scalpel from a veterinary kit she had brought in her car. When the baby was out, Taylor told Yeager she had placed Braxlynn against Reagan's cheek and said, "Tell Mama bye." The baby, Yeager testified, was alive. The defense challenged Yeager's credibility, noting she had written to the DA's office while hoping to have her probation reinstated across charges in 3 counties. Yeager acknowledged she had hoped to get out with time served, but said she hadn't heard back from the DA until after she had already served her time in full. Before the guilt phase closed, Taylor's lawyer Jeff Harrelson filed a motion for a directed verdict, asking Judge Tidwell to throw out the capital murder charge on the grounds that a fetus not yet born cannot legally be kidnapped under Texas law, and that it was therefore a legal impossibility for Taylor to have formed the intent to kidnap someone who did not yet exist as a person. He told the court, "For kidnapping, it's a human being who has been born and is alive. It's our position that you can't kidnap someone unless they've been born and alive." District Attorney Kelly Crisp's rebuttal was direct. Taylor had driven to Reagan's home that morning with the express purpose of killing her and taking her child. That was a completed kidnapping, and Braxlynn had been born alive. Judge Tidwell denied the motion. The defense's strategy throughout the guilt phase had been conducted entirely through cross-examination rather than its own witnesses. On day 6, Jeff Harrelson questioned Connie Griffin extensively about Wade's experience with animal husbandry, specifically his knowledge of birthing cows and pigs. DA Kelly Crisp asked to approach the bench. Outside the jury's hearing, she told Judge Tidwell, "The implication is he knows how to deliver babies and knows what he is doing. I think it's hanging out there that they are trying to blame Wade." But Jeff Harrelson denied it. Of all the witnesses in the guilt phase, Wade Griffin received the most extensive cross-examination. Harrelson pressed him on every warning he had dismissed and every red flag he had ignored, painting a picture of a man drawn deeper into Taylor's world by the promise of wealth and family.
She had several different cell phones because she would text herself being somebody else, you know, and that's what's amazing. And you know, we brought up the husband earlier because that's going to be one of your first primary suspects. And one of the things that we had to battle in court is people couldn't believe that the husband didn't know about it. And like
Taylor's husband?
Taylor's husband,
Okay,
yeah.
Taylor's.
That Taylor's the suspect's husband couldn't have known about it. And they said, well, they would have had to know that she was pregnant. Well, people don't understand. She bought a prosthetic belly. She had a prosthetic belly. She had bought sonograms. She had bought all this stuff. And you can go online, fakeapregnancy.com, and you can buy everything you need to make somebody think that you're pregnant. And this guy thought she was pregnant. And she was texting herself because they have a hog farm and they sell hogs.
The same thread ran through several other cross-examinations. The defense repeatedly asking witnesses why, if they had suspected the pregnancy was fake, they had not gone to the police. Crisp pushed back consistently, saying that the blame lay entirely with Taylor. Wade Griffin had never been charged. He had never been the subject of any criminal investigation. The defense called no witnesses. Taylor swore on the record that she was choosing not to testify. Harrelson's closing argument was brief and focused on a single point: whether Braxlynn had been born alive. the determination on which the kidnapping charge, and therefore the capital murder charge, rested. He asked the jury to acquit Taylor of capital murder and find her guilty of murder instead, urging them to take the evidence you heard and filter it and follow this law as the judge has given you, and to apply the law even if you don't like it. Crisp returned to rebut him. She told the jury she absolutely abducted Braxlynn. She wanted to take her home and pretend she was hers. After 9 weeks of testimony, the case was placed in the hands of the jury. Had the state proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Taylor was guilty of capital murder? The jury had been out for less than 1 hour, and on October 3rd, 2022, they returned a verdict of guilty of capital murder. Taylor showed no visible reaction as Judge Tidwell read the finding aloud. Reagan's family, who had sat through 3 weeks of testimony about the worst day of their lives, held each other. Outside the courthouse, Reagan's Aunt Jamie Mason spoke for the family.
I'm so excited, and I thank the jury so much. We all hoped it was coming to that. We weren't for sure, but we hoped it was coming to that. And I know sentencing doesn't start till October 12th, but just pray for the family because it's still a hard time until we know for sure, what she's going to get. But we just pray every day that she gets what she deserves for what she did to Reagan and Braxlynn.
But the proceedings were not over. Under Texas law, a capital murder conviction does not automatically determine a defendant's sentence. The same jury that had just found Taylor guilty would reconvene 9 days later, on October 12th, to decide what happened to her next. They would hear further evidence from both sides and answer 2 specific questions: whether Taylor posed a continuing danger to society and whether there were sufficient mitigating circumstances to spare her life. If they answered yes to the first and no to the second, unanimously, the sentence would be death. It would be the most emotionally difficult part of the trial, and Taylor, as the gallery would soon discover, had spent 2 years in custody, making sure there was plenty for the jury to hear. The guilty verdict on October 3rd was not the end of the trial. Under Texas law, the jury now had to decide the sentence: life in prison without parole or death. The penalty phase would last 3 weeks, and much of what prosecutors intended to present to the jury in that phase had nothing to do with October 9th, 2020. It had to do with everything that had happened since. Taylor had been in custody since October 9th, 2020. For most people, an arrest of that magnitude would impose some kind of silence, but not for Taylor. According to court documents filed by prosecutors ahead of the penalty phase, she had been so disruptive and difficult since her arrival at the Bowie County Bi-State Detention Center that the jail had been forced to change its policies and procedures to accommodate her. District Attorney Kelly Crisp wrote in a formal notice to the court. It read, "Since her arrival at the jail, she has repeatedly and continuously engaged in criminal behavior, violations of jail policy, and has continued her fraudulent pattern of lying and misrepresenting most all aspects of her medical history and medical status." The medical claims came first. Taylor had demanded an oxygen tank be placed in her jail cell. Staff observed her consistently not using it. Subsequent testing found no medical need for it whatsoever. She continued to claim she had suffered a stroke in 2015 and that she had a rare blood disorder. She made repeated sick calls demanding medical attention for injuries and ailments that, upon examination, did not exist, and she used those trips to the medical department to talk with her boyfriends in the jail or pass notes to other inmates. When jail staff responded by examining her at her cell rather than transporting her, Taylor was furious. She also objected to being handcuffed behind her back, standard procedure, and would become angry when staff refused to cuff her in the front instead. To avoid having her inmate account garnished for the medical bills she owed the county, which by February 2022 had reached over $2,260, Taylor arranged for her mother to purchase commissary items in the names of other inmates, who would then pass them to her. She somehow managed to reactivate her Snapchat account from inside the jail in April 2022, using the same username she had used before the murders. She filed unfounded complaints against jail staff. She threatened individual officers with personal lawsuits. She made comments prosecutors described as potentially threatening physical harm. She created an inappropriate relationship with a former correctional officer. She threatened the warden to move her out of seclusion. During jury selection, she made up stories claiming that certain potential jurors had said they would not vote for the death penalty. Taylor's contact with her family from inside the jail was limited and conditional. Shona Pryor, who had custody of her daughter, told Taylor plainly that the only way she would allow her to speak with her daughter was if she kept the conversation on a positive note. Taylor complied, asking about art classes and volleyball, keeping her voice warm and her words light. Shona reminded her more than once during their calls that everything was being monitored and recorded. Taylor kept talking anyway. In an April 2022 call, Taylor told her mother that Tommy would not allow their son to speak to her on the phone. Shona responded, "If you'd been thinking about the children that you had on Earth, you might not be in the situation that you're in. But what's done is done, and you have to deal with the consequences as best you can. You're not the only one dealing with them, we're all dealing with them." In other calls, she complained about the grand jury indictment, unable to understand or unwilling to accept how charges could be brought for things she claimed she wasn't going to trial over. She complained about the jail taking money from her commissary account for her growing medical bills. She told her mother she was thinking about going off her medication in protest. In one call, she complained about the lights being left on all night in her jail pod. Shona suggested she try to trigger one of her migraines to get moved. Taylor Parker never stopped telling stories. In varying accounts she shared with fellow inmates, Taylor claimed she had committed the crime because she was under the influence of drugs. In another version, a drug dealer had kidnapped and drugged her and forced her to participate because she owed him money. In yet another, she told her jailhouse girlfriend that she had been targeted for kidnapping because she was known to carry large sums of money, and that Reagan had simply been caught in the middle. Other versions blamed Wade Griffin, blamed Homer Hancock, and even blamed Reagan herself for calling out the fake pregnancy and refusing to phone Wade, pretending to be Taylor's nurse, to tell him she'd lost the baby. Then came the confession letters. While awaiting trial, Taylor masterminded what prosecutors described as a sophisticated jailhouse scheme to frame a fellow inmate for the murders. 2 letters were produced, written in a style designed to look as though they came from another inmate. One described in court documents as mentally fragile, purporting to confess to the crime. Prosecutors believed Taylor had written both herself. She also wrote a script telling the inmate exactly what a fake eyewitness should say to police to corroborate the letter. She also claimed to have secured a Netflix documentary deal and a contract for a tell-all biography. She wrote in one jail letter, "I want my innocent side to come out. I am wrongly accused." She maintained multiple romantic relationships simultaneously with inmates inside the facility and people incarcerated elsewhere. One of her jailhouse girlfriends, Lana Addison, eventually took the stand during the penalty phase. In an emotional outburst, she turned directly to face Taylor in the courtroom. "You lied to me that whole time, Taylor. That whole time you got my kids involved." In a jail call with that same girlfriend, Taylor claimed her brother had read an article describing her as the sexiest killer alive. Investigators reviewed every recorded jail call and concluded that Taylor's brother had never said any such thing. She had invented the entire story. Taylor loved dark books, novels with deviant themes that other inmates described as unsettling. She kept them in her cell. Investigators also found what appeared to be 2 separate inquiries in her correspondence, suggesting she had considered arranging for someone to harm her mother, the same mother she had been publicly blaming for years, and the same mother who was now raising her daughter and taking her calls. Whether those inquiries ever went further than the written word, the sources do not confirm. Taylor modified her jail clothes, cutting and altering them to make them more revealing. She complained to her parents about her ripped clothing and asked for money to replace it, while simultaneously having altered it herself. And she wore a face mask to court hearings, to pre-trial appearances, to hearings at the Bowie County Courthouse, decorated with sunflowers. Sunflowers had been Reagan Hancock's favorite flower. They had been woven through Reagan and Homer's wedding, the wedding Taylor had photographed. The courtroom gallery was frequently full of people wearing sunflower jewelry and clothing in Reagan's memory. The defense's strategy in the penalty phase rested on a single argument, that Taylor was not a monster who had chosen to become who she was, but a woman whose brain and upbringing had made her into someone incapable of functioning any other way. Jeff Harrelson opened by presenting a portrait of Taylor's life before Wade Griffin, before the fake pregnancy, before October 9th. A licensed master social worker took the jury back through her childhood. The parental divorce when she was 12, the instability in her father's home, the dishonesty that had surrounded her from a young age, the absence of any consistent safety net. She had grown up in an environment, the defense argued, where lying was modeled, where instability was normal, and where she had never been given the tools to cope with loss or fear in any other way. Neurologist Dr. Siddhartha Nadkarni testified that Taylor had measurable atrophy in the frontal and temporal areas of her brain, what he described as frontal lobe syndrome, a condition that could manifest as disinhibition, impulsivity, and confabulation, the compulsive construction of false narratives. On cross-examination, prosecutors pressed him on the meticulous planning Taylor had demonstrated in the months before the murder. He acknowledged it. Someone with frontal lobe damage, he said, could still plan illegal behavior. The planning itself, he argued, was part of the dysfunction. The prosecution called their own neurological expert in rebuttal. Dr. Michael Arambula told the jury that he disagreed with the defense's findings entirely. A person with frontal lobe dysfunction, as severe as Dr. Nadkarni had described, Dr. Arambula said, would be in a skilled nursing facility with memory issues, not planning, executing, and covering up a murder over the course of a year. Forensic psychiatrist Dr. Edward Griffin testified that Taylor did not meet the full diagnostic criteria for any single personality disorder. She had traits of antisocial, narcissistic, borderline, and histrionic disorders, but no full diagnosis. He said he could not predict she would pose a future danger. Under cross-examination, however, he acknowledged she would continue to be manipulative, continue to lie, and that her behavior could create a dangerous environment for those around her, even within a prison setting. The defense also called Shona Pryor, who testified over 2 days. She described Taylor as a loving and attentive mother to her daughter. She said she had never confronted Taylor about the fake pregnancy because she believed the lie would eventually expose itself. The defense played jail phone calls in which Taylor sounded warm and present, asking about her daughter's art classes and volleyball, encouraging her brother Zachary to keep his head up. During Shona's cross-examination, District Attorney Crisp brought up how Taylor had a documented history of faking illness. Medical records showed she had at various times simulated stroke symptoms by moving her tongue to produce slurred speech, then recovered spontaneously once discharged. Taylor had lied to her own mother about the results of those tests. The prosecution's rebuttal was aggressive. Dr. Timothy Proctor administered the standardized PCL-R psychopathy checklist and testified that Taylor scored in a range consistent with psychopathic traits. He diagnosed her as a pathological liar, not simply someone who lied for a purpose, but someone for whom lying was pervasive. He said, "It's lying for the sake of lying. Lots of inconsistencies, telling different things, doing it to manipulate people." He found no evidence of the neurological dysfunction the defense experts had described. Where Dr. Nadkarni saw damage, Dr. Proctor saw a person who functioned extremely well when it suited her, who planned, executed, adapted, and lied without hesitation. He also found evidence of malingering. Taylor appeared to be exaggerating or feigning difficulties in a legal context. Former colleagues described her dishonesty and manipulative behavior in the workplace. including a $14 school fundraiser bread sale from which she had taken the money and never delivered the bread. Prison officials testified that her behavior in custody, manipulating guards, pursuing contraband, fabricating confession letters designed to frame another inmate for the murder, suggested she would remain a danger regardless of where she was held. In his closing argument, Jeff Harrelson asked the jury to consider the full picture of a human life. He told them, words can be used to dehumanize. He spoke of layers and shades of grey. He said Taylor had been let down by the people around her. Kelly Christ's response was direct and devastating. She walked to the screen and showed the jury a photograph. Reagan, soaked in blood, on the floor of her home. She told the jury Taylor needed to be sentenced to death because she was a danger. She was not a broken woman shaped by forces outside her control. She was someone who had manipulated others by playing the victim her entire life, who understood exactly what she was doing and who had shown no genuine remorse at any point. The jury deliberated for just over an hour. Their answer to both special questions was unanimous, and on November 9th, 2022, Judge John Tidwell read their findings aloud. The sentence was death. Before he formally pronounced it, Reagan's family was given the opportunity to speak. Emily Simmons, Reagan's sister, addressed the courtroom. She said she had been barely 19 years old when she got the call that her sister was gone, that at her own upcoming wedding, she would have to carry a photograph of Reagan down the aisle because Reagan would not be there to act as her maid of honor, that if she wanted to see her sister now, she had to go to a graveyard.
I'm overwhelmed with happiness it's over because she has been such a burden in our life for so long now that I haven't been able to really think about my sister without thinking about her.
Homer Hancock could not bring himself to speak. He had someone read his statement for him. It read, "I'll never get to hear my baby say, 'I love you, Daddy,' and any time Kinley wants to see her mommy, we load up and go out to the gravesite." Then Reagan's mother, Jessica Brooks, stood and addressed Taylor directly. She called her an evil piece of flesh demon. She told her, "My baby was alive, still fighting for her babies, when you tore her open and ripped her baby from her stomach, in front of her baby girl. She was one of the very few people on this earth who cared about you. So every time you think to yourself, 'Oh, poor me, nobody cares about me,' know that that's the truth. We all know you think this is about you. It is not about you. It is about my daughter and her baby, and the loss our family has suffered."
A heavy burden feels lifted. I feel like now we can start trying to heal. We don't have this over our heads. We know where she's going to be. We know where she's at, and she's taken care of. I wanted to be sure my point got across, and I feel like it did. I wanted to speak for our family and, let her know what we all felt. Just how terrible what she's done to our family.
Taylor showed no further reaction, and the Judge Tidwell turned to the bailiff saying, "Take her to death row." None of Taylor's family members were in the courtroom. Taylor Renee Parker was transported to the Patrick L. O'Daniel Unit in Gatesville, Texas, the state's female death row facility. She was the 7th woman on Texas death row at the time of her arrival.
They went through the evidence and the law and felt that they had plenty of information to make that decision. So I'm very thankful that they saw the evidence the way that the state did. I think she has been very difficult for the jail staff here in Bowie County. I think obviously the experts would even agree that she just creates chaos where she goes. And I absolutely think that she got the punishment that she deserved today.
Obviously respect the jury's verdict. This was a tough, lengthy case, factually and emotionally, for everybody involved. So obviously we're disappointed with the outcome, but Taylor will have an automatic appeal to the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals and see where it goes from there.
We're just so thankful that justice was served today for not only our family, our friends, the prosecution team, our community.
Jessica Brooks is Reagan's mother and now wears a necklace in honor of her daughter and granddaughter. Jessica and other family members were in court when the death sentence was announced. During closing arguments, the prosecution asked the jury to remember Reagan as a woman who died fighting for her child. Prosecutors said this was the most heinous crime Bowie County has ever seen.
The legal process, however, was not over. In Texas, death sentences automatically proceed to appellate review. Over the following years, her attorneys challenged the conviction on 25 separate grounds. Her attorney, Caitlin Halpern, argued at the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals on September 17, 2025, that the state's evidence had been intended to manipulate the jury into trivializing Taylor's life, citing in particular extensive testimony about her weight loss surgery and her physical appearance before and after it, which Halpern argued was prejudicial. She drew on the Supreme Court's January 2025 ruling in the Brenda Andrew case, in which a death sentence had been vacated because prosecutors had allegedly trivialized the defendant's life in the eyes of the jury. On November 6, 2025, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals reviewed all 25 points and found no reversible error. Judge Lee Finley wrote, "Finding no reversible error, we affirm appellant's conviction and sentence of death." The conviction and death sentence were affirmed unanimously. In March 2026, Caitlin Halpern filed a petition asking the United States Supreme Court to review the case, arguing that Taylor had not received a fair trial due to extensive media coverage and social media commentary, and raising the change of venue issue once more at the highest level. On May 29, 2026, the Supreme Court declined. The petition was denied without comment, as is standard. Every court that has reviewed the case has reached the same conclusion. Following the conviction, Homer Hancock filed a civil wrongful death lawsuit against both Taylor and Wade Griffin, arguing that Taylor had driven recklessly with Braxlynn in the vehicle after the attack, causing the infant's death. Wade was served with the suit. Wade was never charged with any criminal offense in connection with Reagan's death. As for Taylor's children, their current whereabouts have not been made public. During the sentencing phase, Shona Pryor confirmed she had custody of her daughter. Her son remained with his father, Tommy. Taylor herself has made no formal public statement about the murders. From inside the Bowie County Jail, she wrote extensively, letters to fellow inmates, letters to a journalist in which she described her version of events and offered to help solve other crimes if released, letters to romantic partners describing dreams of a future she would never have. None of it changed anything. Reagan should have been in those final precious days before her daughter arrived. She should have been nesting, resting, counting down. She should have been the one welcoming Braxlynn into the world. Taylor stole that from her. She stole the birth, she stole the life, she stole everything that was supposed to come after. Two people who should be here are not, because of her. And Kinley was there, 3 years old in that house while it happened, while her mother fought for her life. Not only did Taylor take Reagan, not only did she take Braxlynn, she did it in front of a child. I cannot imagine the horrors Kinley saw that day. No 3-year-old should ever have to see that. No one should ever have to see their mother attacked like that, let alone a child. Investigators who attended the scene said it was one of the most brutal things they had ever witnessed in their careers.
The impact that it has had on us, like we say, it's something that'll never be forgotten. And I made the statement standing right there in the living room. I told him, I said, I'm through saying I've seen it all. Because every time I say I see it all, something worse happens.
We have seen quite a bit. Some really messed up cases, different types of scenarios. And now we can actually say we actually investigated one of those. And like you said, I really don't want to work another one like it ever again. It's one and done. It's
tragic. It's horrific. It'll never leave my mind. As long as I have a sound mind in this business, I may not have a sound mind for long. But it's you don't wish it on anybody.
Reagan's sister Emily, who was barely 19 when she got the call, has since had a daughter of her own. She named her Hazley Michelle, Michelle after Reagan's middle name. And even in that small, beautiful nod, a name passed on, a piece of Reagan living in a new life. I can't begin to imagine what this family carries every single day. My heart goes out to Homer Hancock, who lost his wife and his daughter on the same morning, who had to keep going for Kinley, who had to find a way to be both parents when he was still grieving being neither. To Kinley, who deserved to grow up with her mum. To Jessica, to Emily, to Marcus, and to everyone who loved Reagan. And my heart also goes out to Taylor's children, who did not choose any of this, who did not choose to have this monster as a parent. And of course, as always, rest in peace, Reagan Michelle Simmons-Hancock and Braxlynn Sage Hancock. Thanks so much for listening to True Crime with Ellie Mack, with me, Ellie Mack. And a special thanks to our members who you see on screen now. Your support means so much and really helps keep the channel going. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel and like the video. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else, a rating and a follow really help the show grow. See you next time.